Week 5 of Clash Royale League was full of upsets, crazy finishes, and things that nobody could have expected. Here we go with the top 5 plays of our 5th week of competition. And before we jump into the list, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and ring the bell so you never miss a moment of the road to World Championships in Shanghai, China. Leading things off, Team Queso has been phenomenal this season, primarily due to the play of Ruben. But longtime veteran Adrian Piedra was the star in this game. Although Team Queso took the victory in the end, this moment by Adrian was beautiful. Goes with the minor loon play on the right-hand side, and check this out. The E-Wiz between the balloon and the giant skeleton was going to go ahead and maybe stop that balloon, but the tornado not only gets the balloon to tower, but also kills that Electro Wizard on top of the giant skeleton. A great play and great moment for the Aztec Eagle Adrian Piedra, longtime veteran of the league. On to number 4, Michifu versus the God RF, and this was part of God RF's tying Vulcan's record of 3 King of the Hill sweeps in the regular season. This is a hard counter. Michifu has a great matchup here, opens up with Lava Hound, and immediately the God RF does the right thing and pressures the right-hand lane. Michi tries to go in on the left-hand side, but kind of makes a strange decision here and goes Fireball to save that tower rather than sack. And you can see, look at your left-hand side of the screen, the grimace on his face, knowing that was a mistake. This is all textbook play from the God RF. Look at how long he waits here. Totally patient, not trying to push that defense, and gets this Ice Wizard down with the poison at the perfect time to make sure that this entire push dies on the vine and doesn't get very much damage at all. RF went on to get the King of the Hill sweep, and like I said before, tie the regular season record, and there is the Yawning Princess, now the official emote of the God RF. On to our number 3 play, Buffmac versus Canario, Tribe Gaming's British star, going RG at the bridge, and that Fisherman should pull the Royal Giant away, but a nice high E-Wiz gets a total distract. That's huge amount of damage on the left-hand side, and Buffmac came through big for Tribe Gaming in this one, helping get the win over Team Liquid in this play. Put the momentum firmly on the side of the boys in red. GG, well played, Buffmac. Our number 2 play on the week, OP Sam against Schwarzen. German versus German, the rookie against the veteran. And this was a great sequence by Sam. Notice the balloon at the bridge. Fisherman knows that Hunter is coming down. He gets the Fisherman down ahead of the Hunter, and yoink, pulls it all the way in. Lumberjack cleans it off, and of course, Schwarzen has no choice but to get that E-Wiz yoinked as well. And that's a huge push, and of course, Sam not done yet because this deck cycles so very quickly. Takes care of the Mega Knight cheaply on the left. Gonna go ahead and throw one more balloon on the right just as his other Lumberjack finally falls, and that's going to be tower down on the right-hand side, courtesy of that snowball. Of course, if you watched, you know that Misfits ended up coming around and getting the big-time win and a huge upset over SK Gaming despite the efforts of Sam. Misfits in the winners column, SK still in the lead for the season. On to our top play of the week, longtime veteran Diego B against I Am JP, and it's a foot race. Check out how close this is right now. The graveyard of Diego B in, Fireball, Miner the opposite direction, and this is about as close as it can get. Ticking down on the left-hand side is that poison. Miner gets picked up. Fireball tries to beat it out, but Diego B gets that tower down before the Fireball can connect and secures the victory for Chivas Esports. An emotional win, a big win for a long-time veteran in the league who has been really the shining star for Chivas Esports in a tough season. Check out again just how close this one actually was. Graveyard poison on the left-hand side. Miner gets picked up by Diego B from JP, and this Fireball coming in trying to steal it just doesn't quite get there, and I Am JP cannot believe it. GG, well played. That's your top play of the week, and of course, we are not done yet. Plenty more regular season yet to come, and of course, playoffs and world finals, so make sure you hit subscribe. Never miss a moment of the action in Clash Royale League West.
usando lava. Bola de fogo da ponta do recado.
Get the rest of the defense off. Oh my word!
Perfeita.
Four in a row for Team Queso.
We hope you had a festive Halloween, and for those of you who are looking for more festivities, today is certainly going to have some. Our opening matchup between two squads, the defending world champions and last season's runner-up, a matchup just for pride at this point. Both teams already eliminated from our playoff hunt, but our other matchup, either SK Gaming clinches first place or a Cream Royale Betis win throws this league into complete chaos. More on that later. Hello and welcome. I'm Rich Slayton. Joining me as always, my good friend Andrew Guy for today's action in Clash Royale League West for this fall 2020 split. Andrew, we have SK Gaming, who's been so phenomenal. Cream is dangerous. They have a chance to make everything absolutely insane.
Yeah, SK Gaming has really been the true dominant force of CRL West 2020. Just looking at the standings, it's pretty obvious, but when you go and look at some of the wins that they've had along the way and what they've done to the squads right behind them, they clearly have been exponentially better than their other teams. But first, let's get to a little business. How are you guys? I hope you celebrated safely last night. Welcome back to CRL West. I hope you're hanging out with us on YouTube or on Twitch. Either way, we're happy. Follow us on Twitch, subscribe over on YouTube, and make sure those notifications are turned on both platforms. This is the second to last weekend. We've only got one more week left before we get into playoffs, so you don't want to miss those matches. So turn those notifications on. Of course, you can also follow us on Twitter at Esports Royale EN. I'm Andrew Guy. That's Rich Slayton. Fantasy Royale, Rich has been holding competitions. He's also been talking about it quite a bit on his Twitter. I have fallen behind. I don't know what happened. I fell behind in the predictions. I've fallen behind in Fantasy Royale. 250,000 gold, 100 gems. Pick the 4 players that you think are going to get the most crowns every single week. Those lineups better be set already. You got to set them every single week before we go live at 10 a.m. here on the West, even with that time change. Lastly, break time battles. You saw our boy yesterday, Rockstar, take down one of our great competitors here in the break time battles. Just go to statsroyale.com. It's very simple. Follow along, play a bunch of matches. Person who wins the most gets to play against a pro or someone in the community here on stream. Top 5 get some swag. Top 50 get on that leaderboard. And remember, if you win first place, you got to let us be able to reach out to you so you can come here and compete on the broadcast.
Wow, Andrew, a whole lot of things. Yeah, you're still ahead of me on Fantasy Royale.
Am I?
So, I mean, I know that, yeah, you're still ahead of me because you're in the 90s. I'm somewhere in the mid-80s on my crown pickup. So you're still holding on. Of course, I got the lead on predictions, and a big part of that, of course, has been me picking Payne for a couple weekends in a row. Mm-hmm. And Payne watching today's matchups very closely, and we're going to get into our predictions for today's matches in a moment. But again, as I said before, Cream Royale Betis will affect a lot of things. But the big question, Andrew, is anyone picking Cream to win today?
Yeah, it's definitely a really tough pick, but they have been very strong this season in 5th place at 4-3. In front of them, we got Team Queso 5-3. Third place is going to be Space Station Gaming, tied with Tribe, who has that head-to-head over them in second place at 6-2. And of course, SK looking to stay on top today, going 7-1 is their ideal spot. But you know what? Even if they drop, they will still be in that first place position as of right now. Bottom 3 players or bottom 3 teams have been eliminated. Liquid, Misfits, and Chivas. Dignitas and Payne still in it at 3-5 and 4-3, respectively. As we get into predictions and stuff and news, we're going to talk a lot more about playoff implications and, of course, our CRL East champions in Nova. But we got to get there first. These are the standings right now. And Rich, as you said, a lot of things can change if SK loses today. Then Cream becomes this team that everyone has got under the microscope.
Well, not only will Cream look phenomenal, but again, if SK wins, they clinch first place, and the race for second place, the other World Final clinching spot, is between Tribe and Space Station Gaming, with Space Station needing Tribe to lose next weekend to have that door open. If Cream Royale Betis wins, not only do they eliminate Dignitas and guarantee us our top 6, including Payne Gaming, but they throw that whole division into absolute chaos. It would mean that you would have 3 teams tied at 6-2 between SK, Tribe, and Space Station, and then you would have a bunch of teams also tied at 5-3. So you would have this big logjam, and we would have no true clue of what's going on for those top 2 spaces going into next weekend. So every single match will be very exciting if Cream can pull off the upset today.
Yeah, and a big part of that was what happened yesterday. As you can see, Tribe, Pain, and Space Station Gaming all near the top, other than Queso all picking up that big W. And of course, Queso losing does change things up a bit. Our first match of today will be for Pride between our former world champions Liquid and then their opponents Misfits. And then the big one, Cream Real Betis going up against SK to close things out today. It is very, very tough to bet against SK, and as we get into our predictions, you'll see that every single person today has picked SK. The only difference is that Manu and Koji have picked Team Liquid for their first matchup, and you and I had a couple words before the broadcast about why we think Misfits might be better, and honestly, Rich, I just think they have a better chance in 2v2. Both of these squads have been pretty dismal in 2v2. It's been pretty rough for them this go, but I do for some reason believe that Wings and Air Surfer just have a slight edge over Team Liquid.
I also think Misfits wants it more, Andrew. I think you have some rookies who really want to win, especially that guy in Schwarzen. I think that Wings and Air Surfer both want to get this one and get this one well. I don't know where the passion is for Team Liquid. That's one of the big concerns right now. And Misfits, I think that they come in and they're going to be better prepared today than Team Liquid will be.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what lineups we see today. As we've mentioned before, both these squads no longer in playoff contention, but that doesn't mean it's not worth trying. So I'm curious to see what we'll come out with today. The only things that really have been working on either side, Igor's been playing all right for Team Liquid, and for Misfits, it's kind of just been all over the board. One guy will show up on any given day.
Yeah, Misfits, it all started with, of course, losing Razor to Team Liquid, which changed their entire outlook, but then also just a lot of changing things up, and we'll see if they can get that math right today. Let's jump on into it. Team Liquid and Misfits to open up our broadcast.
Bueno, este partido, ¿qué les puedo decir? La están luchando dos equipos que están básicamente... Team Liquid está matemáticamente eliminado. Misfits creo que en este momento, al llegar acá, puede tener ahí una mínima. Depende de lo que haya sucedido el sábado. Como estoy grabando esto antes, no lo sabré. Pero lo que sí sé es que este partido es sencillamente una lucha por el orgullo.
Team Liquid es probablemente la decepción más grande de toda la CRL, y tenemos un Misfits que, si bien empezó flojo, no se esperaba mucho de principio y han estado superándose y mejorando. Es un partido que va a estar muy peleado, difícil de inclinarme para qué lado va a caer la balanza, pero donde el favorito o el que mejor papel ha dado es Misfits.
Team Liquid contra Misfits. A Misfits já derrotou a equipe da SK. Será que eles conseguem também levar os atuais campeões do mundo da CRL?
A vantagem pode ser da Misfits. Me parece um time mais arrumado do que a Team Liquid neste momento.
A surprising spot for our defending world champions and last season's runner-up. We'll see if Misfits and Liquid have anything left in the tank after a really rough season.
Team Liquid and Misfits in a battle for pride today, looking to see maybe what they need to change as they move forward into 2021. Two rosters with so much talent on either side, not able to put it together here in the fall, looking to go back to that drawing board for the spring.
Just a shocking, surprising season for both of these sides. You look at the math for Team Liquid, Andrew, and it really felt like adding Razor to their 2v2 would have been the big change that this team needed for the fall split.
Yeah, you really think so, but for some reason, Razor just not able to get it working here on Team Liquid. Whether it's with Canario or with Surgical Goblin, today we'll see if he's going to come out with Igor and just pull the full trifecta. But Razor, Igor, Canario, Surgical Goblin, our former world champions who have fallen so far from grace, looking to just get one more win under their belt. It will only be their second of the season. Same for Misfits on the other side of it, representing Red today. Have only picked up one win, but it was over SK Gaming.
Yeah, this is an interesting team. They got the big win that no one else has really been able to get this season, or very few teams able to even get close to it. And I think a lot of the problems started when they pulled the plug on Bob the Rock and Schwarzen as their 2v2 duo. Gave them two chances and then hit the panic button really early in the season, moved Air Surfer and Wings into that 2v2, and that's where they've been with up and down success. But as we talked about a lot, Andrew, this is a team that struggled to find an identity, and you got to wonder if maybe a chance to hit the reset button would do wonders for this squad.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I really think that maybe that is the way they should have went, just because Wings and Air Surfer, it feels like it'd be a more of a benefit for Misfits for them to be more mentally sound going into the second and third sets, and with the way their 2v2's been going, it's going to be tough. And speaking of 2v2, today we got Razor and Igor coming out with Liquid, Wings, and Air Surfer for Misfits. Both squads banning the Giant Skeleton, and you know, when we were introducing these squads, it has felt like Igor has been the only thing that's been working on Liquid, so surprising to see him here in this spot.
Yeah, that's an interesting shift, but you know, I guess at this stage, why not try something different? Nothing else has worked, so maybe this will be the thing that gets stuff going. We don't know, but for now, what we do know, Misfits, Wings, and Air Surfer coming back out one more time, top of your screen, and for the first time ever, I believe that Igor has never been in a 2v2 match in CRL. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how they fare together. You know, as far as I know, I don't believe Razor speaks very good Russian, and I do know that Igor is still working on his English skills. But we saw the success of Lopakati and the God RF with maybe just drag and dropping.
Yeah, who knows? Well, let's go ahead and get into it more. And looking like it's going to be double Expo right now for Wings and Air Surfer. That's the feeling that we're getting from it. And of course, with Air Surfer being one of the historically top Expo players in the world, why not?
Yeah, I like it. We've seen double Expo work pretty well here in this season, surprisingly, actually considering its kind of history in CRL and how little it's been used or little success it's had in head-to-head play. But 2v2, honestly, it's ended up being a very unique win condition.
Ice Wiz to the left-hand side to play defense against the Ice Wizard. Giant Skeleton ban from both, so Ice Wiz NATO. We saw this yesterday, and we'll see more of it today. Skeleton cycle to the left-hand side. And then we have the Mega Minion going to the left-hand lane, and you know, it's interesting to see Expo coming out from Wings and Air Surfer, an early rocket cycle. As the rocket goes to the Hunter and gets some damage in, you might get the idea here, Andrew, that it's just going to be setting up for defense and spell cycle the whole way through here for Misfits.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, why not? When you look at what they have to run into, forcing the Expo is going to be a mistake, so why not try to spell cycle things out as they're going to work towards this right-hand side, and then if there's ever an opportunity with Mega Knight out of cycle, with any of their tanks out of cycle, just sneak that Expo in. But yeah, I like this. Defensive Expo and go for spell cycling.
Well, you know, the Mega Knight in particular, and now you see the Royal Giant as well. A lot of meat shieldy stuff that can easily pick up those Expos. So far, so good, but they are going offensive here now that they see both of those pieces out of cycle for the moment.
Yeah, and you see right there, obviously that support, or that push was not supported at all by Team Liquid, but in the future, it does feel like Air Surfer and Wings, when that Royal Giant is supported, they're going to have to put just a little bit more DPS on it than just a Valkyrie Ice Wizard, but if it's just by itself, that's going to work out great.
Knight split with archers in the back, defensive Expo down one more time.
Feels like Team Liquid were just not ready for this matchup. They don't have a lot of great spells to get a ton of good value here. They're going to have a really, really tough time figuring out how to stop this spell cycle that you're seeing.
Well, the interesting thing about this particular matchup, Andrew, for Team Liquid not having the ability to communicate with one another, is that this matchup requires you're really using your ways to pick up Expo in the proper sequence and not double dropping, not getting yourself in trouble. So this is a really, I mean, I don't know if Wings and Air Surfer had any idea of who they would be facing, but given the overall sort of synchronicity problems that Team Liquid has had in 2v2, this seems like a really, really great call out of Misfits.
Yeah, and you see right here, they got double Tesla down. They're going to be able to throw down another Expo here in just a second if they'd like. Instead, they go for the Fireball to connect. Liquid is ready for it with a really nice heal spirit, but still, Fisherman a second late, and this is going to be towered down most likely very, very soon.
Yeah, there you go. Rocket comes on in. GG, well played. Misfits takes game number 1 and exploiting the weakness that Team Liquid has had all season, which has not been able to get on the same page.
Yeah, you know, and this becomes a very interesting position for Team Liquid to be in as well, because it feels like going into the King of the Hill, you might see a 50-50, but then when you get into the head-to-head play, if it were to be Igor, I would definitely give him a strong advantage over Schwarzen or Bob the Rock. But now that Igor is in the 2v2, and with the way that the other guys on Liquid have been playing in head-to-head, this 2v2 set drop feels like it could just be a 2-set victory for Misfits.
Yeah, that gets really, really interesting. I mean, of course, Misfits has done a lot of win game number 1 and lose game number 2 so far this season, and that's been a thing they've wanted to change a whole lot, but if you look at their 2v2 record, that's been a thing they've done over and over again. The question is, can they get some consistency here against an inconsistent opponent?
Yeah, and I like what you said. They probably didn't know what duo they were going to run up against today, because it is very surprising to see Igor out there in 2v2. But you talk about how difficult it is without the communication to stop Expos over and over and over. Well, the other thing that we know is very difficult to stop without Giant Skeleton in play. Maybe we'll see Royal Giant Balloon freeze. Maybe we'll see Balloon with Graveyard freeze. Or, honestly, I just love to see double bait. You talk about how much communication has to happen then and how quickly it has to come. That seems like the best way to take advantage of Team Liquid right now.
That's a great call, Andrew. I think you're right on that. Whatever comes out of Misfits Gaming right now, it needs to be fast, needs to stretch their opponents thin, and needs to force them into communication errors and into double drops and things like that. We saw that really well in game number 1, and double bait would be a great way to go in game number 2. Again, curious about seeing Igor here in the 2v2. Obviously, if we do get to the 1v1, it'll be Surgical Goblin or Canario in that third and final set, but that's a big if. For now, we have a lot more 2v2 left to play, and of course, a King of the Hill set as well. And now, Andrew, for a long time, it would feel like on paper, maybe you would give the King of the Hill advantage to Team Liquid, but in this matchup, maybe does Misfits have it in this season?
Yeah, so we're going to hop into game number 2 right now. Misfits does have Wings on their squad and Air Surfer, 2 of the better head-to-head players in all of CRL. Yes, Wings is better in King of the Hill than he is in 1v1, but when you talk about 2 guys out there that could really make anything happen on any day, Wings and Air Surfer are definitely names that come to mind, just like on the other side of the screen in Razor and Igor, which is why I think that King of the Hill set is much more 50-50 than before, or I should say against other squads.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about that King of the Hill lately, but I did get a little bit of insight into the kind of head-scratching choices in King of the Hill in terms of sitting Wings. More on that when we get into that set. Here we go, going with Lava Hound, and Andrew, they might get the win here, but I don't think either you or I is happy with this deck choice in game number 2.
Yeah, it's, we'll see how it fares. We honestly will. Lava Hound, for some reason, this season just hasn't seemed to have been working out well, no matter what combination you come out with. I do really love the Electro Dragon getting worked into play more and more. It's going to help with, all the units we see on the board right now, and the recruits and in that Inferno Drag, but something about Lava Rich just hasn't been clicking for me this season.
It's also just piggybacking on the point you were making earlier that, let's do something that makes them make mistakes, and Lava Hound gives you a lot of opportunity to drag and drop. And that's an interesting thing about the language barrier here, Andrew, between Igor and Razor. You can see a lot of talking here. They're clearly going to be dragging and hovering to show their teammate where they're dropping. And against Double Expo, the delay that you have when you're trying to show your teammate where that's going is a significant issue. Against Lava Hound, not that big of a deal.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point that you make. You almost have no moment of forgiveness when that Expo comes down. You have to hurry up and get it down. You can't double drop at all, which means that the first person has to be aggressive on getting that first card down. And what you're saying with this Lava Hound is proving true right now, right? They had 3 units on the tower. They're able to kind of keep it at bay, and now they're going to tank for these pups. So just barely in the lead is Misfits, even though I think they've been playing better in this game.
Well, again, this is the 2v2 competitive debut of Igor. You got to imagine that he and Razor haven't done a ton of reps together. Igor may have been a practice partner for 2v2, although I would gather that the practice partner may have been Eric Benamou with whoever the 4th player was, either Canario or earlier in the season, Surgical Goblin, more than Igor as practice partners for 2v2.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I haven't really ever heard Igor talk much about 2v2, although I never really heard Lapo talk too much about 2v2 other than just maybe his practice. But yeah, it is just very interesting to wonder if Igor even, how much time he's even spent in this game mode.
Sure, here we go, getting into sudden death overtime, 7:43 on the right-hand side, and Liquid just trying to hold on here, but solid control here by Wings and Air Surfer. Wall breakers will go to the cage and maybe try to open up the next push, but it's going to be very difficult to play this defense as you see Wings and Air Surfer setting up on the right-hand side, and that is 12 recruits on the board.
Yeah, it's a lot of recruits down. You see Miner going to the back of the tower. Miner's going to be tanked for just a second. Now it's going to tank for all those recruits, but that Lava Hound is just sitting on the tower, just sitting pretty, hanging out. Obviously not a ton of damage coming in, but, still below 400, which means we're in spell cycle range.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see a quick little 1-2 combination come in here in just a second. Miner goes to the back, And Snowball to save it for now, but doesn't matter. Baby Dragon belches, and that's a clean 2-0 win in 2v2 for Misfits. And Andrew, you and I were talking about this earlier. I feel so heavily for Razor, who we got it on good authority that he wouldn't have left Misfits for any team other than Liquid. He's an overall Liquid fan and wanted a chance to play for the organization that he's followed since before he was in CRL. And the turn of events this season, it's really just rough for him.
Yeah, I can't echo that sentiment more, man. I love Razor, and speaking with him, interviewing him earlier this season, it's exactly what you're talking about. He was very excited to join Team Liquid, and it's the only squad that he would have joined, but definitely not working out well for him. And, you know, Diego B leaving Liquid, it hasn't worked out well for Chivas or Liquid. It's been real tough for all these squads that have made these big adjustments. And if you look at the board here, we'll see there's no urgency behind Team Liquid. Obviously, they've kind of probably given up on the season, but also if you even look at the deck selection, there's only wall breakers and 2 miners in there. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of cards to play in the middle of the board. It doesn't feel like they even had a true win condition. Or if they did have a win condition, it didn't feel like it was enough of one to actually get damage in. I mean, you saw it was basically just play the Goblin Cage and we'll deal with the wall breakers, and then the Lava Hound's just going to cruise on through to the tower. So, you know, it's tough, Rich. I don't really know what to say. I obviously am a big fan of all of these guys, both these squads and their coaches. It's just a rough season.
Yeah, and you know, you talk about the roughness on one side, or maybe Liquid thought they were hiring in a magic bullet. You know, the irony there is you have Diego B leaving Liquid and going to Chivas, where he's been phenomenal in 2v2, and then bringing in Razor and no gel happening on the 2v2 side here. On the other side of it, for Misfits, we've talked a lot about their foibles, and it seems like it was over before it started. You know, we've talked a lot about the speculation of why Wings hasn't been in King of the Hill, of the 2v2 issue, and I really think it all comes down to they put all of their rocks, they put all of their money, they put all of their hope in the idea that Bob and Schwarzen would be the 2v2 duo, and then just hit the panic button after 2 weeks, and that seemed like it was the end of the season.
So, and do you have any more words to speak on about why we haven't been seeing Wings in King of the Hill as much? Because that's another thing. I don't think it was maybe their third match was the first time we even saw him in that set. And that was before they technically hit the panic button. Do you know what that's about now?
They wanted to give Bob a shot in King of the Hill, and it was a choice of who do you bench between Wings, Air Surfer, and Schwarzen. And Wings, because especially as he was prepping for 2v2, wasn't grinding head-to-head matches as much. So they decided to go with the two guys who were playing a lot more head-to-head in Air Surfer and Schwarzen. You know, there's a debate as to whether Schwarzen should have been the one sat or Wings, and there's also a debate as to whether Bob should have been mixed in anyway when you have Wings, right. the caliber of Wings, Air Surfer, and Schwarzen. Like, this isn't Rec League, this is professional Clash Royale, so there's a pretty big question there, but they wanted to give him that shot. Maybe they just did that move one too many times this season.
Yeah, and honestly, I still think that I bench Air Surfer over Wings in King of the Hill, just so that, I mean, if we're talking the beginning of the season, then Air Surfer's still ready for a 1v1. You have Wings in the set that he succeeds in the most. Obviously, as things went on, it became much, much more difficult. So we're going to hop into King of the Hill now. A quick 2-0 set sweep in 2v2 for Misfits, Air Surfer, and Wings. We're going to hop in with Team Liquid bringing out Canario. I'm not sure who their opponent's going to be. It looks like it will be Wings. So Canario, Surgical Goblin, and Igor kicking things off for Liquid. And then, yeah, as you just said, Rich, excited to see Wings in that leadoff spot. Bob the Rock in the middle position, and Air Surfer closing things out for King of the Hill.
And they're saving Schwarzen just in case he does have to come out for that 1v1. It'll be against Surgical Goblin or Canario. And this is what you want to see. You want to see, arguably, the best King of the Hill player in the history of CRL West leading off King of the Hill. This is what he does, and I'm expecting a pretty good performance here today.
Yeah, same. Excited about it. And also with Schwarzen, Rich, like you're talking about, saving him for the 1v1. My hat's off to him, because even though he's had a very, very rough season, you know, I still see him online on Twitter regularly looking for more CRL players to practice. So he still has his eyes on the prize. He's still maybe looking towards 2021 in his next professional season.
Well, you know, in head-to-head, Schwarzen is even at a 50-50, or just under even. You know, he's 1-1 in 1v1 sets and 5-5 in King of the Hill games. So Schwarzen's done a pretty good job for a rookie season. He's a very good player. Currently, you know, over 7K already on the season, getting ready for his final season push potentially after today's matches are over. I'm excited to see him if we do get to the 1v1, but for now, let's go ahead and see if Wings can get comfortable in the set that made him as a professional.
Yeah, Wings splitting the 6-man at the back on the top of your screen here, running into just a little bit of swarm units, fishermen, and then a royal delivery at the bridge.
Yeah, we've seen a lot more delivery the last couple of weeks than we saw throughout the rest of the season. It seems there's a couple of decks where it just mixes in nicely. You got to expect Canario is running the EQ version of this deck now. It's going to be the Royal Delivery Earthquake with the Royal Hawks.
See that delivery coming down from his opponent. Pretty good cleanup, and right back at him is going to be his own set of Royal Hogs. That's not going to be a King Tower activation. That Fisherman not played where he needs it to be.
Yeah, Fisherman a little bit high, and a lot of DPS in there too to not let those pigs stay alive long enough. Still the lead right now for Wings as we pass the first minute 15, 1885 on the left-hand side.
Yeah, it's been a little bit odd. You know, someone like Canario who has been so excellent with his micro, it just seems that he's not quite there mentally this season. Small things like that. You know, when you have the opportunity to activate King this early on, you have a Fisherman in hand. It just seems like something that Canario maybe would have not done in his younger years.
Yeah, you know, Canario's a tough question because he has been great throughout his career, obviously. I do wonder a little bit about that really brutal match against Payne where he was winning against Lucas and had the disconnect, and how much that might have changed things, not just for Canario, what he could have gone on and done in that set, but, you know, could they have gone on and won that King of the Hill? Maybe Igor would have come out in 1v1 instead. You know, a couple of more wins, it's not that many, and Team Liquid would have been in the mix this season. Yeah,
exactly, which is why those very, very small mistakes, or I guess in the long run, in hindsight, they become very large mistakes, but at the time it just seems like such a small thing, right? Like a one-game disconnect, and it turns the whole season around. Really, really, really brutal.
So here we go, sudden death, overtime, and Canario does have the lead on the left-hand side. We'll see how long he can hold on to that one. Earthquake cycle in both directions as we go into the final two.
Yeah, Canario just holding on to the lead he has right now, about 500 HP in the lead, so they're just going to keep doing that cycle, and Wings is going to have to get back on the offense because he needs to somehow even out this damage before they just get caught spell cycling for the next minute 40.
Yeah, I mean, Canario does get around faster because of this version of the deck, but of course, he does also have to contend with all the clogging of the lanes. So if we get into a straight-up spell cycle race in the final 60, that does benefit Canario. The question is, can Wings get enough down to make that spell cycle a not ideal maneuver?
I mean, he's definitely working at it, right? Like, that right-hand tower is getting low enough to where the dual lane pressure becomes something you have to pay a lot of attention to, which becomes very, very difficult for Canario to deal with. He doesn't have a ton of damage, so he's got to be very smart with his delivery with these bridge crossings, and of course, make sure that he doesn't give up too much on that right-hand side.
Late heal spirit there for Wings going to be a problem,
Ooh,
and that should be enough for Canario to get this thing. Yep, we're going to be down at 203, so Canario needs to get back around a little bit more and get that tower down. Wings with a last attempt here on the left-hand side to break on through. He does have a ton on the tower, but can he beat out the Earthquake? He cannot. Canario takes game number one.
Yeah, Wings just barely losing that one. A great late push from Canario on that left-hand side, as you said, complemented by that excellently placed heal spirit, gives Canario that big dub. And, you know, he had the lead for most of the, he was behind for most of the game. Wow. Wings was behind for most of the game, which is why you saw him get aggressive towards the end, which is really what opened up that window for Canario. He knew he could just sit back and wait for Wings to overcommit, then he could sell out on that big push.
You just take a look at the deck comparison here, Andrew, and just how much faster Canario gets around, with the Spear Goblins versus the Royal Recruits being probably the biggest issue here. That really changes a game that isn't one you would think of would be a ton about spell cycle with only one direct tower damage spell. That Spear Goblins ended up being huge, and Canario did a good enough job of controlling that dual lane pressure as time went on.
Yeah, that Hunter really also evened things out for Canario over that Electro Wizard. The Electro Wizard's stun just not being as impactful as that spread shot from the Hunter, getting that much damage in, being able to pull all those units to the center of the map with the Hunter right there is just a little bit more effective than the E-Wiz. But also, I really did like to see the Royal Delivery drops on both sides of the board. A lot of times we saw great defense being played with just an Earthquake and Royal Delivery. It's only 5 to combat maybe 7 to 8. So that's a really nice thing that Canario and Wings both did a couple times. Yeah, interesting first game. Canario takes the W, and, you know, one of the few that he's had this season, a little bit more what we're used to when we watch him play. And I believe we're going to see Bob the Rock up next. How do you feel about his chances against Canario?
Look, Bob's a very talented Clash Royale player. When I spoke earlier about I don't understand why you wouldn't put Wings, Air Surfer, and Schwarzen as the king of the hill, it wasn't a slight on Bob. It's that you're in a lineup with guys who have so much experience, and if you put Bob versus Schwarzen in terms of head-to-head accolades, you have to go with Schwarzen in that conversation. Bob's capable. Bob's perfectly capable. And as you said before, Canario's not the best Canario we've ever seen. He's not the guy. He's not the Giant Slayer right now. He's Canario, which is still phenomenal. Right. Bob has a good shot at winning this one. So good luck to the young man in this one. And, this is one of those games where you hope you come out and maybe put on some flashy performances and get a win here that can hang on your mantle.
Yeah, is that, and this is kind of putting you on the spot, so I apologize, but is that what you're going for today, right? If you're Liquid or Misfits, is it literally just for pride? Because I don't want to speak too much for either organization, but I doubt this is the last, I feel like this is the last time we see either of these 4-man squads for either team, respectively. I feel like there's going to be some changes in the offseason.
Yeah, for Liquid, I don't know what the answer is. I don't think Liquid cares about pride. At this point, look, you have a CRL Western Championship, you have a CRL World Championship. This game, I don't think it matters to Team Liquid. It's so small, it's so minuscule in the overall universe. And you take a look at the 4 players. Any one of those 4 players wants a job with the Clash Royale team, they're going to get it. Right? On the other side of it, I think the stakes are higher for Misfits in terms of just wanting to get a win here, but also in terms of Bob and Schwarzen. Those guys want to get wins to make sure, even if you're on a losing team, you want to have good performances so that you're thinking about your contracts for next year.
Exactly. All right, so here we go. We're going to hop into the next game here. Canario at the bottom of your screen after picking up that W. Bob the Rock, top of your screen, maybe vying for his contract renewal next season with Misfits or letting other squads out there know that he's still ready to play. Canario, Ice Wizard, cycle to the bottom of your screen.
Looks like Canario going for Graveyard. Bob has some overall decent head-to-head accolades. Has finished top 10 in ladder, has won the global tournament, did a good job earlier this year in the first edition of the CWA Cup, made the top 8. He just sort of made his bones competitively as a 2v2 player alongside St. Belican, especially with their semi-pro partnership that was so successful. So Bob is certainly a capable head-to-head player, but you get into a question of, especially when you're prepping for 2v2, how ready are you for head-to-head? Where are you putting your hours in? And we've talked a lot about the time commitment it takes. You have to be grinding to be at the top level. And, Andrew, let me just go ahead and correct this. Is this the first time we're seeing Golem in a 1v1 game this season?
Yeah, we're going pretty classic Golem here. As you can see, Night Witch, Baby Dragon, Ice Wiz is the only little bit of a change in the system, but we've seen that definitely before in Golem decks, and it's just going to be a straight-up tower trade early on. The Balloon gets 1 drop in with Lava on the tower, and I'm curious to see how Bob the Rock is going to win this one against Canario, just because a lot of the time when we see Lava face off against Golem, and it starts off like this, it can be really, really tough to create a lot of pressure with the Lava Hound.
Just a little bar barrel to get a little bit more on that right-hand side, and Canario going to basically ignore the left and set himself up for a 3-crown race.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to go for it, which makes sense, obviously, with those big hits after the first tower take, and Balloon is in. Canario knows that Balloon works a lot faster than his Golem, though.
Miner in behind it. Lightning to work on the Balloon, but Balloon still gets 1 drop, and not putting anything on offense is Canario. Will come out with a slight Elixir lead, though, and let's see if he sets up for the Golem on the right-hand side this time.
Yeah, he really needs to. He really needs to make something happen here. You see the Dark Prince getting cycled in the back. That's going to help put the Golem on skates if he wants to pull the trigger on it. But that Inferno Dragon, it's a good cycle from Bob the Rock.
You see a little bit of leakage there. Nice wait for Bob to go ahead and pick up the Dark Prince solidly, and now Balloon going in the opposite direction, and the Miner goes to the King Tower. If Bob had sent that Miner to the Ice Wizard as a prediction, that would have definitely gotten a rise out of me.
Yeah, I do like Canario went to the exact same spot that Bob went to last time to pick up that Miner. Nice heads-up play by Canario, but he's really having a difficult time trying to play this defense. Since it's a 2-tower game, since his opponent hasn't committed yet, now that his opponent's committed with the Balloon, I honestly think he needs to defend this and then put a Golem down in front. That's exactly what he's going to do. Golem in the pocket, maybe even.
Nice, easy NATO that back.
Oh, he might not have enough Elixir to get there in time. 7, 8. Nope, he's not going to have enough. But they're not across the bridge. This is big.
Well, this is that Ice Wiz NATO combination. And, you know, no matter what you do, Ice Wiz Tornado is still so strong, and you're seeing it hold on here. Let's see if it can hold on a little bit longer. Lightning does take care of the Inferno Dragon on the back end. Ice Wiz down below.
Yeah, Canario and Bob the Rock doing such a great job with pressure, so that Bob cannot allow Canario to get enough elixir to get that Golem down in front of these support troops. It's a really impressive thing that he's doing, and there it is. Golem in the pocket, Barbs to surround.
And that's a good NATO to pull them together and try to get the slow down there. That's going to get a death connection for the Golem. So nice little maneuver. Of course, now Bob knows that Tornado is not in cycle.
Yeah, just not enough damage to get on top of those Barbs quickly enough, and the Inferno Dragon. Inferno still stayed alive, stayed on top of the Golem. Ticking at 8 once again. You feel like he does need to get back on offense, but that's why you see Bob as aggressive as he is with these balloons.
I'm a little surprised to see Bob go there with the miner one more time, Andrew. It's kind of just like locked into a rhythm that Canario has completely read, and this might end up turning into a win for Team Liquid.
Yeah, here we go. I think we go Golem up high here, maybe. No, he's just going to keep playing defense. It's tough. You know, you see the Barbs out of cycle, you think it's a pretty good opportunity, but then he needs to play this defense game.
Well, he knows that he has Lightning, and he knows that they're tied right now.
Yeah.
So I think he can get back around one more time to a Lightning, potentially.
Dark Prince.
But he knows that, and the Dark Prince gets on tower, and that's a GG.
Yeah, that's a massive
Oh,
hit
no,
there.
there's a Death Bomb on the bottom right-hand side. This is getting interesting, Andrew. If Bob can get that Ice Wiz off the board and throws the miner to the back.
He goes to the same
The
spot.
Lightning Dark Prince! Oh my word, and Bob cannot believe it.
Wow, that was like such a slow burn, but you didn't realize you were watching it go to a crate of dynamite. Those final few moments were off the wall. Look at that, 44 HP, bottom of your screen, one more miner shovel hit. The base race continues. Canario and Bob going for 3. Canario takes it in 2. What a game.
Yeah, 44 HP, so I don't know if anyone in my contest guessed that, but if you did, I believe that's currently the lowest tower, the closest win of the weekend. And man, that's just, it's one of those things where I'd love to go back and see, and you know, maybe not see in a replay, but Bob just kept sending that miner to the exact same spot over and over and over again. You never saw him go to the bot to a different corner of the King Tower. You never saw him go and predict the Ice Wizard. You get the Ice Wizard off the board one time, and suddenly that balloon is an absolute menace.
Yeah, and you even saw Canario catch that miner like 3 or 4 times in a row, and then he talked himself out of playing it in the same spot because he was like, there's no way Bob's just going to keep doing it. So he plays the Night Witch up high, doesn't catch it, and then Bob does the smart thing and goes back to the same spot again. After that point, when you see your opponent switch up where they're catching you, that means you've slightly gotten in their head. So I like that Bob actually went back to the same spot. He was just maybe 1 second too late. He just needed one more miner shovel hit. That was a great game, honestly.
Yeah, you know, at first it felt like they were just going to go for, hey, let's see who can get 3 crowns first. And then it seems after that no one got through that first big one, they're like, okay, let's reset and play this one out a little bit more competitively. And Canario able to hold on under the face of pressure. And, you know, you talk about seeing the Canario of old versus the Canario right now. One thing Canario... One thing that made Canario the player he is today is being calm under pressure, is being on his back foot, playing defensively, and being okay playing from behind. And we saw that here.
Yeah, he definitely recognized all the situations that Bob kept presenting to him. He knew that any time that he wanted to get aggressive and maybe play that Golem down in front of those support troops, or even in that very second Golem push when his opponent had the Lava Hound in, and then the Lava Hound back of the map, you could see Canario was starting to set up his Golem push. He did the smart thing. He cycled the Night Witch first, and then the Dark Prince, just to see what Bob was going to do. And then when Bob saw that, he's like, all right, I lose this if he gets a Golem down in front, so I have to throw a balloon right up on the King Tower. So it was really great decision-making, almost a game of chess between these guys for a very long time, given what they had. You know, Bob knew he was going to lose if they played that tank game. He knew he could maybe win if he played the hyper-aggressive game.
It was classic Royale, so a little bit of a throwback matchup in game number 2 of King of the Hill. And now we have a chance for Canario to go 1-2-3 and get a sweep and send us to the 1v1 where, you know, you have to imagine that we know Schwarzen's probably coming out from Misfits if we get there. The question is, would Canario come back out or would it be Surgical Goblin?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that it just would have to be Canario, even though he'd be running through 3 decks already, but Surge just hasn't been Surge this year.
So Hog Rider for Canario to open up, and the Hunter in response. And is Canario? No way. No way. Okay, it's triple spell. For a half second, you see those first three, and you're
know.
The season's not on the line anymore. You're not trying to qualify. Are you trying to make a YouTube video out of I won with 2.6 in CRL, right? Like, that's a plausible move in this situation, but no, going for Hog triple spell, and up against what looks like it's going to be Mortar Cannon Cart.
Yeah, this is a really interesting deck. I've been seeing more and more people playing this as of late on ladder and in grand challenges if it's exactly what I think. And it's just, every now and then you'll get Mortar decks that are just like 2 left turns off of meta, and this feels exactly like one of those. And I'm curious to see how Air Surfer is going to play it. We haven't seen this in competitive play yet this year. There's
Graveyard coming in. There you go.
Yep.
I was going to say, I think this is the graveyard, the graveyard version.
Yeah, this is the one that's, I believe it's on the top of GCs for Mortar. It's just this weird Cannon Cart Mortar Graveyard deck, and you can see right now it's success because it's really, really hard for opponents to deal with all those levels of thing. The Mortar, obviously you have to catch it, but then of course the Cannon Cart at the bridge is hyper aggressive and get a lot of damage in. Graveyard on the back end, very tough.
Well, to be fair, I had thought for a minute that Air Surfer might be playing the minor version here, given the his proclivity towards faster cycle decks, but instead going with the graveyard for Mortar Cannon Cart. Canario trying to play slow on the defense is what you got to do with this deck most of the time, but that time slowly ticking away here.
Yeah, it's definitely a very tough spot for Canario to be in, taking that much damage early on, because these graveyards, you don't really have to defend them, right? You just get a spell in like that on top of the Musketeer and hope a skeleton or two get a hit, and you just do that for the rest of the game because he has so much HP to play with, Air Surfer does, with his lowest tower being at 1700.
33 remaining in regulation time, and you see Canario set up the Knight low, Musketeer high, and the Hog in front to block and protect for a second.
Look at that. Great use of the Inferno right on top of the Hog, right on top of the Musketeer. A little questionable Hog Rider out of Air Surfer, and now back on the offense. Is Air Surfer got a tank in?
Fireball in, getting on the Musketeer. Muskie is gone. Skelly's on tower, and Air Surfer does prevent the King of the Hill sweep and keeps Misfits alive in our second set.
Yeah, so Canario is able to take down Wings, Bob the Rock. Air Surfer says no way with this Mortar Graveyard deck. I swear, I think I saw this Mortar Graveyard deck for the first time even just yesterday, this new composition of it. I was looking through Grand Challenges, and I'm happy to see it here in CRL to see how the guys at the top play it. And you saw exactly what Air Surfer did, just baited a little bit more than Canario wanted out of him early on. And also you look at what Canario has in his hand. It's really not a great deck to deal with Graveyard, especially if you're down Elixir early on.
Yeah, and I think that there used to be a version of this Mortar Cannon Cart Graveyard that ran maybe Archers or Valkyrie, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was something a little different.
So, yeah, you talked about it, Andrew. Pretty difficult matchup. Musketeer not able to deal with a lot of this, and as you see the Fireball clean that off, that's going to be a whole chunk of damage.
Yeah, it's a really nicely timed in place Fireball. Just gets just enough sizzle in from the Inferno, cleans the Musketeer off the board, no extra help with those skeletons, and it's just rinse and repeat from this point on. After that very first big Graveyard hit for Air Surfer, he was able to defend really well. I liked his high mortars placed in the center. I think that's maybe what we're going to see right here. Yeah, it is. You see the Inferno Dragon there on top. Barbarrel comes in a high center mortar, untouched completely, that demands that bomb tower out. And Air Surfer kind of gives him some BM because he's like, do you realize how much Elixir I just took of yours? And then I'm going to go right back on offense. And that's exactly what happened. GG, well played, and Inferno's in with the Graveyard.
And that's a good way to put it, Andrew. Air Surfer with how much Elixir I just took of yours. Canario was forced to overspend a lot on defense to prevent damage, and pretty easy win over there for Air Surfer in game number 3. So still in King of the Hill. Air Surfer last man standing for Misfits. Coming up next going to be Surgical Goblin, who, again, you talk about motivation, and, I can't speculate too much on where Surgical Goblin is in terms of how motivated he is to get to really grind this season. But you look at his overall career, 2017, one of the best years anyone ever had in Clash Royale, won the King's Cup 2, won CRL West, won Clash Royale League World Championship. People might have some criticisms of him in terms of this 2020 season, but what is there left for him to prove? He still, in my book, is Hall of Fame and certainly considered the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I mean, you throw in a WCG championship there in the middle and you look at what he did in his turnaround from 2017 to 2018. I got nothing but love for Surgical Goblin. It just seems that right now he might just be a little bit off the beaten path. He's just trying to figure out what it is to get back in gear, maybe. And maybe, you know, it's time for Surge to move to a different part of CRL. Who knows? That's not really for us to speculate on, and we'll see how he plays today here in this game. You know, it's still Surgical Goblin. He can still come out and play an incredible game, but I definitely think that you're correct in just that there's just a little bit of something missing from Surge, and I think it's that hunger.
And when you think about this, Andrew, going back to the 2019 season as well, that fall split, Team Liquid, the grit they showed after a tough start in the spring split to come back and win the championship, and grit is 100% the word there. Then you move on to the fall split. They you know, you look at the Western Championship against SK Gaming in the fall split that SK ended up taking down. Team Liquid wasn't putting everything into that championship because they'd already done the thing they wanted, which was qualify for Worlds. They had gone through a brutal road to make sure they qualified for Worlds. And you could see if you watch that fall championship in the Western region that they were all smiles. They already had their eyes on that World Championship prize. You know, there's a possibility that if Team Liquid hadn't had to go through 2 matches to make that qualification, we might have seen a hungry Liquid in that championship, a prepared and a not exhausted Liquid, and they could have done back-to-back Western Regional Championships.
Yeah, that's a really solid point you make. You know, you do look back at that day, and they were just beat. They were exhausted. They had already gotten to where they needed to get. They crossed the finish line that they'd set up for themselves. So here we go. Air Surfer top of your screen. Surgical Goblin at the bottom. Surge looking like he's rocking a little bit of balloon. Air Surfer at the top, just behind by a little bit, not much.
Interesting to see Surgical going with this version of Minor Muscaloon, probably because he's played it and more familiar with it. Of course, the current popular version of Minor Loon is the one that we saw yesterday from Ruben with Archers and Mega Minion mixed in, and the Knight on top of that as well. And talking about players who are in this matchup, Schwarzen currently has the best trophy count with that deck, I think at around 7,200.
Yeah, Surge here missed a couple Ice Golems in a row on top of those Electro Wizards, trying to protect his Musketeer, keep it on the board. Something that he's going to want to remedy as we move into Double Elixir, because that's going to be a card in the Musketeer that he needs to protect. Just a little bit better.
And that's a nice little set of skeletons to bait out the Heal Spirit, Ice Golem, or to pick up the Heal Spirit, Ice Golem on the right-hand side. Not going to be enough to get the balloon all the way on tower, but will get death damage in, and now a pretty nasty counter push coming the opposite direction from Air Surf.
Yeah, this is big. He's got 4 Elixir. You got the Royal Giant already on top of the Bomb Tower. Not the best place to place the Bomb Tower for Surgical Goblin. Now he's going to really pay for it here. Healthy Royal Giant, healthy Royal Ghost, and of course the Hunter in the back end.
Yeah, that Royal Ghost in the middle, nice from Air Surfer, maybe taking some pages out of Ruben's book as we saw him go against Barb Hut in the same vein. We'll see how Air Surfer can turn the pressure on as time goes on, currently with a pretty significant lead over Team Liquid Star.
There we go. Now doing a better job protecting his Musketeer. You see the Ice Golem coming down a little bit earlier, then the Miner goes in to get on top of the Electro Wizard. Still comes off the board, but that Musketeer able to provide just a little bit more DPS, putting him in a better spot. Now back on offense goes Surgical Goblin.
And now this Miner should go to the Hunter as well to help out Ewiz to protect out of Air Surfer. Snowball trying to make enough room here, and that should get one connection unless Air Surfer chooses to fireball, and he does not.
Gets the connection. Even the Heal Spirit dropped in there as well, so a lot of Elixir spent there, and now you see Surgical Goblin going just a little bit lower with the Bomb Tower. Nice play by Surge getting the Ice Golem in front. This is the Surgical Goblin that we're looking to see.
Yeah, the Heal Spirit play out of Air Surfer, though, has just made it too difficult for Surgical Goblin to play significant defense, and that's been a huge. Air Surfer now putting a ton of damage on the right-hand side, and that's 2 Heal Spirits in a row that have helped him win those bridge battles for that right-hand damage.
Yeah, Surge just doing a great job defensively for a moment there, but just really tough position to be in. You see him going for the swerve here. Miner up in front on the tower. Barb Barrel down low to protect, to get on top of the Ewiz and the Hunter, but it's just not going to be enough, and now he's just kiting stuff away to kind of delay the inevitable.
And the Royal Guild goes right to the tower, gets 2 shots, doesn't need the fireball. GG, well played, and Air Surfer is sending this to game number 5.
So Surgical Goblin dropping another game on the season. That's going to move his head-to-head record right to 1-2 in King of the Hill, which just, again, it shows you how little he has played this season. 33% on the season when it comes to head-to-head play, and otherwise it's a little bit more in that 2v2 set. 1-3 in sets over there, 4-7 in games. A very uncharacteristic season for the GOAT.
And I want to point out what we just saw on camera, Andrew, the look on Air Surfer's face. He's happy right now. He's pleased right now. You know, you can tell that these games right now matter to him, and this is why I picked Misfits coming into today. I don't know what's going to happen in Game 5 or in 1v1, but it definitely felt like Misfits had more personally invested in the outcome today than Team Liquid.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if Misfits are coming into the season with the exact same hope as Team Liquid. Obviously, they want to win. Obviously, they want to be champions. But, you know, heavy lies the crown for Team Liquid. And I think every single loss felt exponentially worse for them than it did for other squads that were still trying to prove something. For them, it wasn't just about getting wins. It was about holding and reigning and defending their world championship. So I agree with you. When you see the looks on their faces, it's clear that one is more resigned than the other.
And you see sort of the trouble of this matchup, Andrew, for Surgical Goblin, and he has to play that miner up high on defense, which is essentially heal spirit bait. The way this deck is built, it makes it very difficult for him to DPS down the Royal Giant without giving up essentially free heal spirit connections and undoing all that damage. And then, of course, on the other side, Hunter and Electro Wizard, two of the best counters to Balloon. So a good matchup for Air Surfer and very well played for him. Going to send us to Game 5.
Yeah, and you know, you were calling early on about this specific deck choice by Surgical Goblin and why this is maybe a minor loon deck of old. Is a big part of it probably has to do with the single target DPS. You just need a little bit more in a deck to help out. If the only card truly is the Musketeer, then it's just Musketeer plus Skeletons, and it's just too easy to manage if your opponent has any sort of spell power. So I like Minor Loon. I just think that maybe he needs a little bit of a facelift on the specific 8-card combination.
So here we go. Game number 5. Misfits with a chance to get win number 2 on the season. And an important one that they seem to be taking very, very seriously. So we'll see if Air Surfer can add another King of the Hill sweep to his overall career record. Of course, if he does that, it's game over. If not, the big question will be, who does Team Liquid bring out in that 1v1 set?
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be what we're seeing right now, which is Igor and Air Surfer, which honestly, if at the beginning of the season you asked me what 1v1 sets between these two squads would look like, that's what I would assume it would be. But no, this is going to be Game 5 of King of the Hill. Neither of these gentlemen available for our third set if we get there. Air Surfer, top of your screen, 2 wins in his pocket already today, just in King of the Hill. Add 2 more for 2v2. Igor, he was out there in 2v2. That happened.
Yeah, that is a good way to describe that. And you can see Air Surfer starting to feel a little loose, having some fun. The signature goal, pig with the money emote coming out. That's his go-to. So you can see he's starting to enjoy himself a little bit. Looking like Igor may be going with Expo here.
There we go. Skelly is to protect the knight. Igor is a man that loves his micro. And we're going to see a Royal Delivery on top of that.
So looking like not Expo now that we see the delivery come out. So some sort of mortar variant maybe that we've never seen before. Or maybe we have seen, who knows? It is Igor.
A graveyard?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like graveyard, but the delivery's weird.
I'm sure that people on the chat are letting us know how they feel about our predictions right now.
Yeah, exactly what it is. They're like, you don't know that this is this.
This was ran back in 2004, before phones even had games on them.
Bomb tower high on the mortar. So
looking like is he gonna go back to the graveyard deck but with arrows this time instead, because Igor does like to play such high cycle cards, but maybe looking for something a little bit stronger to take out something like goblins or spear goblins. Gang maybe,
right,
I'm
so
not
it's
sure.
It's hog triple spell with archers. All right,
okay,
there we go.
That makes spell, yeah. I can't wait to hear about that one. Here we go. Inferno Dragon moving down the left-hand side of the map.
Archers take care of the Inferno Dragon in the middle. Slight elixir lead right now for Air Surfer as he cycles the hunter to the left-hand side. Yeah, 2001 to 1917.
Air Surfer probably really happy about those arrows in there to help with, of course, the skeletons and the archers. Can do a great job on these graveyard cleanups. So right now you see a ton of elixir being spent by Igor. It's going to be a pretty good job cleaning up, but that's 7 elixir just sitting right there on his tower.
The quick cycle and the earthquake is going to make things very interesting on the other side of it, though, Andrew. We'll see, of course, it's going to be very difficult for Igor to play defense against graveyards as time goes on, but you do expect he'll be able to get a few more hog shots in. The question is, can he get enough in before triple? And just straight up EQ cycle right now for the Russian. Yeah,
right now he's going to EQ cycle because he knows how quickly he can get back around in case his opponent does decide to go aggressive on mortar. So now you see high bomb tower there. It's going to help with graveyard. It's going to prevent the mortar from being able to lock in. I kind of like I love what Igor's doing right now to Razor, making this very, very difficult for him to get in.
Well, the slightly underrated Earthquake defense against Graveyard.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. It's a card people don't usually spend on defense against Graveyard, but it does have the 3 different Earthquake hits, and that timing does help you in the mid phase. So, you know, it's not the greatest response out of all the responses, but it certainly was effective there.
Yeah, nice arrows there to get that archer off the board. You see Igor setting up with that bomb tower again, so Air Surfer doing exactly what he has to do. He switches lane. Cannon Cart does connect. A big hit on the left-hand side, though, as well with the Hog Rider from Igor. Massive blows thrown both ways, but Igor is in a better spot when you talk about spells.
Yeah, gotta get that mortar high. There you go. The mortar that I would have loved to see a cheeky move where he went mortar 1 tile over and then pushed the Hog Rider with a unit up high. Instead, gonna go ahead and set up for this graveyard push on the right-hand side. Running for it right now is Air Surfer. Can he get it done? King of the Hill sweep. Misfits takes it in 2.
Those arrows were so excellent in that matchup. You saw Igor cycling everything in the back. Archers in the back, skeletons in the back, Knight right in front of the tower to tank for anything coming in the front end. The only problem is once the arrows come in, the archers are gone, the skeletons are gone, then the Knight starts taking a walk around the tower. So Misfits does it in 2 sets. 5 game wins today from Air Surfer. If you had him on your fantasy team, you got to be really, really happy. And he does it with Mortar Graveyard twice in King of the Hill, 2 different variations.
Very, very nice work for Air Surfer overall. I think I might get a look at that at the end. You know, this is an interesting variation of Hog Triple Spell. And I would be curious to see what the actual HP numbers were on the left-hand side, and if maybe Igor needed to just cycle EQs and logs a bit faster. But you take a look at the other pieces, this doesn't get around quite as quickly as you might think.
Yeah, it really is just a hair slower. And then, you know, this one big hit that we saw right before this on the right-hand side was because Igor found out he cracked the code of Air Surfer with the bomb tower on the left-hand side. The only problem is this isn't just a mortar deck. This is a mortar graveyard deck. So that cannon cart coming to the other side, coupled with the graveyard, and these arrows just make it almost impossible to deal with. And the other thing that Air Surfer did so great was he kept defending this cannon cart at the bridge, which is why we saw the cannon cart connect on the prior attack with the cannon cart, Knight, and graveyard with the arrows. So Air Surfer, Bob the Rock, Schwarzen, and Wings pick up the W today, the second of Misfits season, taking down Team Liquid today, and of course SK just a couple weeks ago.
And Air Surfer now joins the 4 King of the Hill sweep club, which is pretty rarefied air, right? And to the players who've got 4 sweeps in their career, TNT, Canario, Morton, Buffmac, Air Surfer, the God RF, and Razor. So rarefied air there for the players who've done it that many times.
Yeah, so Team Liquid gonna put another L in their record books, I guess. They're gonna be at 1-7 now on the season. Really, really tough for them. The bottom 3 squads have been eliminated from playoffs, as we mentioned earlier in the show. Obviously, Pain, Gaming, and Cream and Dig still very much in the running. And this next match is going to have a lot more playoff implications than what we just saw. This match was a lot more about what's going to be in the future for maybe these 8 players plus their coaches, but SK and Cream is a big one.
Yeah, it's huge. SK wins. They lock in first place. They guarantee the first round bye. They guarantee World Finals. They lose, all bets are off. The only thing that we get guaranteed if Cream wins this one is that Dig is out, Pain is in, and we know our top 6 for playoffs. Other than that, it creates absolute chaos, and it makes every single one of our 5 matches next week really, really important for the overall picture.
Yeah, I mean, we got 2 great 2v2 squads, King of the Hill that can go either way, and can anyone stop Javi Catorce in that 1v1 set? Cream Real Betis, SK Gaming, coming your way right now.
Week 5 of Clash Royale League was full of upsets, crazy finishes, and things that nobody could have expected. Here we go with the top 5 plays of our 5th week of competition. And before we jump into the list, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and ring the bell so you never miss a moment of the road to World Championships in Shanghai, China. Leading things off, Team Queso has been phenomenal this season, primarily due to the play of Ruben. But longtime veteran Adrian Piedra was the star in this game. Although Team Queso took the victory in the end, this moment by Adrian was beautiful. Goes with the minor loon play on the right-hand side, and check this out. The E-Wiz between the balloon and the giant skeleton was going to go ahead and maybe stop that balloon, but the tornado not only gets the balloon to tower, but also kills that Electro Wizard on top of the giant skeleton. A great play and great moment for the Aztec Eagle Adrian Piedra, longtime veteran of the league. On to number 4, Michifu versus the God RF, and this was part of God RF's tying Vulcan's record of 3 King of the Hill sweeps in the regular season. This is a hard counter. Michifu has a great matchup here, opens up with Lava Hound, and immediately the God RF does the right thing and pressures the right-hand lane. Michi tries to go in on the left-hand side, but kind of makes a strange decision here and goes Fireball to save that tower rather than sack. And you can see, look at your left-hand side of the screen, the grimace on his face knowing that was a mistake. This is all textbook play from the God RF. Look at how long he waits here. Totally patient, not trying to push that defense, and gets this Ice Wizard down with the poison at the perfect time to make sure that this entire push dies on the vine and doesn't get very much damage at all. RF went on to get the King of the Hill sweep, and like I said before, tie the regular season record, and there is the Yawning Princess, now the official emote of the God RF. On to our number 3 play, Buffmac versus Canario, Tribe Gaming's British star, going RG at the bridge, and that Fisherman should pull the Royal Giant away, but a nice high E-Wiz gets a total distract. That's huge amount of damage on the left-hand side, and Buffmac came through big for Tribe Gaming in this one, helping get the win over Team Liquid in this play. Put the momentum firmly on the side of the boys in red. GG, well played, Buffmac. Our number 2 play on the week, OP Sam against Schwarzen. German versus German, the rookie against the veteran. And this was a great sequence by Sam. Notice the balloon at the bridge. Fisherman knows that Hunter is coming down. He gets the Fisherman down ahead of the Hunter, and yoink, pulls it all the way in. Lumberjack cleans it off, and of course, Schwarzen has no choice but to get that E-Wiz yoinked as well. And that's a huge push, and of course, Sam not done yet because this deck cycles so very quickly. Takes care of the Mega Knight cheaply on the left. Gonna go ahead and throw one more balloon on the right just as his other Lumberjack finally falls, and that's going to be tower down on the right-hand side, courtesy of that snowball. Of course, if you watched, you know that Misfits ended up coming around and getting the big-time win and a huge upset over SK Gaming despite the efforts of Sam. Misfits in the winners column, SK still in the lead for the season. On to our top play of the week, longtime veteran Diego B against IMJP, and it's a foot race. Check out how close this is right now. The graveyard of Diego B in, Fireball, Miner the opposite direction, and this is about as close as it can get. Ticking down on the left-hand side is that poison. Miner gets picked up. Fireball tries to beat it out, but Diego B gets that tower down before the Fireball can connect and secures the victory for Chivas Esports. An emotional win, a big win for a longtime veteran in the league who has been really the shining star for Chivas Esports in a tough season. Check out again just how close this one actually was. Graveyard Poison on the left-hand side. Miner gets picked up by Diego B from JP, and this Fireball coming in trying to steal it just doesn't quite get there, and JP cannot believe it. GG, well played. That's your top play of the week, and of course, we are not done yet. Plenty more regular season yet to come, and of course, playoffs and world finals, so make sure you hit subscribe. Never miss a moment of the action in Clash Royale League West.
Welcome back to our second and final match of our fabulous Sunday, and this is going to be an important one for both the squads involved. As I said beforehand, SK Gaming a chance to clinch the #1 spot, clinch a World Finals berth, and if they win, that opens up the door for Dignitas to sneak into that #6 spot and creates a challenge there for both Pain and Cream Royale Betis. But Andrew, if Cream Royale Betis wins, all bets are off.
And win is definitely something that they can do. They've picked up 3 of their last 4 matches against Pain, Tribe, and Misfits. Big wins there in 2v2 and in head-to-head play. Pedro seems like he's finally back to fighting form. We saw him in the last match take down Air Surfer and Swarzen, which we just saw what Air Surfer can do. Not an easy guy to take down in any set, whether it be King of the Hill or 1v1. And of course, while Pedro was maybe a little bit on vacation or maybe trying to get back in gear, Belican truly stepped up in King of the Hill and in that 1v1 set. So you've got a great 4-man squad here in Diego E, Michi, and Belly and Pedro, respectively in 2v2 and 1v1. So Cream is definitely still in this. They can really give SK a run for their money.
Yeah, Cream Royale Betis has been very, very good this season. But, you know, it's interesting when you look at sort of their overall record, right? Because they're 4-3, a chance to go 5-3 with a win here today. They've mostly gotten their wins over the middle of the pack. They haven't been top tier against the top tier echelon. This is a chance today to sort of put a big hello to the league overall and tell people that they can beat anyone going into playoffs.
That's right. Cream Royale Betis working to stay in that playoff spot. SK trying to stay on top. Let's do this, our final match of Sunday.
Bom, SK deu uma escorregadinha ali tranquila, escorregou, voltou pro momento que precisa ali de vitórias. Acho que aqui não teremos surpresas. Acho que apesar de um jogo bem disputado, a SK vai levar a melhor.
Cream Royale Betis contra SK Gaming. A Cream está lutando para voltar para a zona de classificação, enquanto que SK quer ficar no primeiro lugar.
At 4-3, Cream Royale Betis is right in the middle of the pack, and a win over SK would basically secure themselves a playoff berth, but it's SK Gaming.
Can Cream and St. Belican hand them that second loss and narrow that playoff picture by just a hair?
Y Cream, que inicialmente lo veíamos como un equipo para un tercer lugar, un cuarto lugar, Cream tiene sub y bajas, a veces mejor, a veces peor. Con una gran actuación y la aparición de Pedro en el último partido, se vuelve un equipo peligroso.
Team en contra de SK. Partidazo, se los explico. SK en el caso de perder 2 partidos consecutivos no queda en ese top. Necesita esta victoria para ya decir vamos a Worlds.
So a little look at how we've gotten to this point in the season. Cream Royale Betis and SK Gaming in a very important matchup, and for Cream Royale Betis, the story has really been the 2v2 of Diego E and Michifu, but all 5 of their wins have come against struggling duos. Liquid, Dig, Queso, the early version of Pain, and of course Misfits. They've fallen short against Tribe Gaming and SSG. Can they pull it out today, Andrew? And if they can, they set up their head-to-head stars, Belican and Pedro, very, very nicely moving into that King of the Hill.
Yeah, and this is definitely going to be a battle in that 2v2 set. When you talk about Morton and OP Sam, hands down, without a doubt in my mind, the best 2v2 squad in all of CRL West. They've done it against everyone out there, SSG, Tribe alike. Javi and Sergio Ramos, they're head-to-head guys, King of the Hill and 1v1 stars. Javi has been near unstoppable this season as well, and when you've got 3 guys out of a 4-man squad that have basically been perfect, that spells why SK is at 6-1 and at the top of our standings.
Yeah, they've just been so good, and so good for so long, Andrew. You know, you talk about motivation. You got to wonder how much the not winning CRL World Finals last season, not making that final match, has lit the fire under them for this year.
Yeah, I mean, massively. That's all that they want. That's all they have the eyes on the prize about. They don't care about winning the West. They don't care about winning WCG. They don't care about being in playoffs. They just want to win Worlds. You can imagine how badly they want it, especially after last year.
Oh, and Javi's gotten so close twice now. You know, the runner-up in our 2018 to Nova, and then, of course, getting 1 HP away from making it to the final matchup last season. So you got to know there's a lot of motivation on that side. And Andrew, to talk about this 2v2 again, you know, Michifu and Diego E, their record is good, but I don't know if it tells us the story of them yet, and this is going to be a curious matchup against Sam and Morton. Because again, they beat Flash and Codigo, Benny Hu and Kuchi, Sweep and Wallace, and Air Surfer and Wings, and of course Razor Canario, but they've lost to both of the S-tier duos they've played against.
Yeah, and I think even if they lose this set, they don't have to walk away hanging their heads. Now, obviously, it's still very early on and they could win it, but they just need to make sure they do things correctly in this. Beating Morton and Sam is not an easy thing to do, but if you make them really, really work for it and you battle it out for 3 games, I think that's still a win on the day.
Well, so far it is Cream Royale Betis with the lead. A pretty solid Royal Giant connection on the right-hand side, and the Inferno Tower doing a good job burning down the Mega Knight as we go past the first 80 seconds of gameplay.
Yeah, so we'll see how Sam and Morton want to adjust here. You see the double drop in the back. Mega Knight in front of the Fisherman. One of the few squads out there when you see a double drop, you know it's purposeful.
Baby Dragon 1, Baby Dragon 2, and a Musketeer behind the Mega Knight to work on some of that. And look at the Ram Rider come down. I don't know if that intended to protect the Musketeer, but it certainly did protect the Musketeer, and now they're going to double down with Lumberjack Ram Rider one more time.
Talk about just a great moment of fortune there for SK Gaming. Massive connection.
What a lightning out of OP Sam on the left-hand side. I don't know if that was a prediction or just that they hovered there. We'll have to look at that in the replay, but that lightning was beautiful out of SK.
Yeah, it definitely feels like he was probably hovering, holding, knowing that they were going to have to really play some great defense, which would open up things for Morton and Sam if they didn't play it perfectly, or if they gave him a great lightning. So the Germans right back in this, only behind by about 400 HP right now.
Pretty aggressive early spell cycle right now out of Cream Royale Betis, and they're trying to get a little bit more on tower here. Mega Knight does come down to protect. Fireball just getting the Fisherman and tower, though, maybe a bit ill-advised with how many troops there were on the board.
You see that Mega Knight going to protect that Ram Rider from the Fisherman. Ram Rider goes to the inside. Great heal spirit, still not going to be enough. Sam and Morton making a lot of things happen, but still not getting the connection.
Yeah, this is a really tough push right now for them to defend against. This Royal Giant should get 2 shots, maybe just 1 off of the stun there. So it does hold off to just 1 shot, 10-11 on the right-hand side remaining for SK Gaming, 14-60 for Cream Royale Betis.
Really nice Baby Dragon there to catch the Electro Wizard from getting on top of that Inferno. Here we go, Fireball in, lightning at the bridge, you know it's going to happen. There it is.
And good read there on the Heal Spirit coming in with the log from Cream Royale Betis. This has turned into a barn burner of a 2v2 matchup.
Yeah, it's really tough because Sam and Morton don't really have a great card to bait out that lightning or something that can throw in the lightning to maybe block for something else. So, you know, something like a Royal Delivery or a Dark Prince, something with a shield. So that lightning is getting exponential value for Diego and Michi.
Nice little Fireball NATO combination there, and of course that requires some coordination with the NATO in Michifu's hands, the Fireball in Diego E's hands. Second time today that we're seeing the double, and that's another nice lightning.
That's huge.
Second time we're seeing that double giant skeleton.
And that was a big lightning on both sides of the board. You saw that the lightning came in from Diego and Michi, but I believe that was an intentional block from Sam and Morton with the Mega Knight protecting the Musketeer. It hits the Princess Tower, Mega Knight, and one other unit. Musketeer stays on the board. Second Ram Rider down.
That's a raged up Ram Rider. Can it get by? It does connect. 307 remaining on the right-hand tower. Lightning comes in, 43 HP. Fireball gets it done. Sam and Morton with a gem of a game here in number 1.
That's why they are the best. The things they did throughout the lightning plays. I don't care if you say they were on accident or not. Those are some pretty beautiful mistakes then. Getting that Mega Knight down right in front of that Musketeer and those final moments really made it so Diego E and Michifu had to pay so much more attention to that bridge battle because that DPS was still on the board. And you talk about those lightnings early on at the bridge and offensively out of Diego and then out of Michi, and then respectively out of Sam, creating that space to first give SK that opening. Just amazing stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to see that, if we did get that in the replay booth, seeing the Ram Rider come out and protect the Musketeer, and then a second Ram Rider come down and the Lightning make room for it. So I believe this is going to be that sequence. 2 baby dragons down, Mega Knight in front, here comes the Musketeer, and the Ram Rider, boom, right there, and does keep the Musketeer on, and then back around to a second Ram Rider here, Andrew, and here comes that beautiful light.
Yeah, so you go second Ram Rider here with the Lumberjack. They're really going to sell out because they know they're in a great spot. So look at Sam's Elixir, ticks to 6 right there. He's still holding on the Lightning. There it is, drops right in that moment. Fisherman goes down so that the Ram Rider can get on through to tower. Musketeer is there, coupled with it, and they're not even in the lead at this point, but they have finally shown Diego and Michi that this is not going to be an easy game. Then you fast forward to here. Look at that lightning block, dude. I don't care if it's on accident. I don't care if it's on perfect. It's beautiful.
Yeah, this was just great Clash Royale. And look, Diego E and Michifu played a great game here. They played a really great game and had their opportunities to win this one. But, you know, we talked about this beforehand, Andrew. SK Gaming is an S-tier 2v2 duo. Michi and Diego E are an A-tier 2v2 duo, and we're seeing just how important that slight difference is right here.
And you just look at the perfect communication between Sam and Morton. The double drop in the back end, the protection on the Lightning, selling out at the bridge, and then selling out even more with the Lightning. Even in that moment right there, it's still perfect communication. It's not easy to orchestrate pushes like that. You see things that come in exactly when they're supposed to. The Lumberjack sneaks in before the Ram Rider that sneaks in front of the Musketeer. These are all things that are perfectly calculated by SK Gaming.
Let's go ahead, jump into game number 2. The current season leaders with the advantage here in the opening set. Sam and Morton looking to add yet another overall to their career records and to this season. Right now, 12-4, or make that 13-4 in 2v2 games in this fall season.
It really is a true treat to be able to call SK Gaming's matches for as long as we have, for as many years as we have, because they have just put up such incredible gameplay so consistently.
There you are, absolutely right, Andrew, and interesting to see SK Gaming going with the same. I mean, this feels very similar to our opening 2v2 match of the day, Andrew, and you know, you saw Misfits go to this Lava Hound Electro Dragon deck in game number 2, and here you go with SK doing the same thing.
Look at that. SK gets a massive Dark Prince connection on the left-hand side. Ewa is not where they need it to be to stop the stun. That tower is already at half health. Sam and Morton haven't even broken a sweat yet.
Lightning takes care of a lot of that. Flying Machine Heal Spirit to help out a bit more, and what looked like it could have been a pretty significant graveyard counter push will actually get a lot more, Andrew, than maybe SK bargained
Yeah,
for.
they needed to get anything on top of that Valkyrie. They did a really good job with the Lightning, but you knew that Lightning was going to mean that one of them had very, very little elixir, so you see the Flying Machine played up high and to the right, just not going to be able to get to that Valkyrie in time. Really, really brutal for SK.
And they use the Miner to keep that Fish Boy from helping get that right-hand tower into spell cycle range, but Log will get a bit more chip, and now SK switches lanes, setting up Lava Hound on the left-hand side, and not choosing to sack tower here. Going to go ahead and get the pull just in time with the Fisherman.
Yeah, I was going to say they're definitely going to play a card, and I was trying to figure out which one it was going to be that was going to allow them to defend the right-hand side and amplify the push on the left, and you see them doing it right now. No way that we're going to actually get that Electro Dragon on that Inferno tower. Great freeze.
Well, the Dark Prince was trying to sneak in front, but just couldn't get there in time, and they wanted that Dark Prince shield to take the first brunt of that Inferno tower, and then maybe get the Electro Dragon in there. Unable to get the timing quite right was SK, so we go into the final 40 with Cream Royale Betis holding on to a pretty significant lead.
That Fisherman kind of played off in no man's land, looking for something else. It would have been a great Heal Spirit plus Lumberjack there on the right-hand side, but SK mistimes it by just a bit, and that allows that Fisherman to get 2 big swings on that right-hand tower. SK Gaming has to forget about the right and take the left with as little time as they have left. Only 228 HP remains.
And the NATO maybe a half step late, but still 423 left-hand side, final 15 seconds. Going to go ahead and protect here on the right-hand side a little bit, knowing that, well, now that's going to put it within poison range. So it's possible here that Cream Royale Betis takes game number 2. Not enough elixir. Yeah, that's going to be it. We're going to a game 3.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, you talk about a couple of small mistakes there made by SK Gaming. The biggest one, though, was just that Valkyrie on defense against the Graveyard. You had the High Lightning, which really, truly helped out. I believe it was a Baby Dragon, E-Wiz, and Valkyrie maybe that got hit and cleared off the board. That Valkyrie, though, protected by the skeletons, did an insane amount of damage for Diego E and Michifu.
Yeah, that was a huge chunk early, and then, you know, Andrew, you think about that second phase of the game, and that Dark Prince not getting in front of the Lava Hound on the left-hand side gave an easy burn for the Inferno Tower, and an easy choice to go with the defensive freeze with the Mega Knight on that push as well. So just 1/2 tile or 1/2 second difference, and we could still be calling that same game.
I just don't love Morten and Sam playing these types of decks. I like them playing decks that just have way more actions per minute because it's really where they excel. You know, this allows their opponents to play, this makes them play their opponent's game, whereas normally they make their opponents play their game. So you're going to see, this is the Lightning right here, beautiful Lightning on the Baby Dragon and E-Wiz, but you just need something else up front for this Valkyrie. I mean, it's really tough because the Valkyrie's tanking for the skeletons in that moment, so you have to figure out something that can cover both. And unfortunately for SK, they just didn't have it in their hand.
Yeah, I wonder what else was in hand at that exact moment. I'm looking at Sam's. Oh, that was Sam. I'm looking over at Sam's hand right now, and, you know, other options might have been the Inferno Dragon, which would have been worse than a flying machine. Right. I don't know if the Dark Prince was in cycle. A miner could have come in there, but really there just wasn't an excellent option, and it might have been just a half step too late to catch that Valkyrie off tower.
Yeah, and that was a great recognition by Cream to go, okay, if they're going to do that much to us on the left-hand side of the map, then let's go right back on offense. And that Valkyrie, again, just being able to sneak on through, getting tanked for by those skeletons. It's just a small slip there by Sam and Morten that ended up costing them game number 2. This is what you hope for if you're Cream Royale Betis. You really are giving SK a run for their money. Now as we hop into game number 3 in just a moment, we're evened up here. And you saw with a good matchup and, well, nice plays by Diego and Michi, they took that second game pretty handedly. So SK Gaming in danger of dropping this 2v2 set.
Well, you know, you imagine, Andrew, there's a lot of teams watching this one very closely, especially Space Station Gaming, which, if SK wins, their only hope is Tribe loses next weekend and they win and sneak on by. If SK loses, they now have 2 teams that could lose next weekend and open the door for them to make it into that top 2. So, you know, Space Station Gaming watching this one very closely.
Here we go, Sam and Morten, top of your screen on the right in the SK house, left side of your screen, Diego E and Michifu, representing Cream Royale Betis.
Double Giant Skeleton are the blind bans, and of course they do submit those without knowing the opposing team's ban, which is why you end up with the same thing on occasion.
Really happy to see Giant Skeleton banned today. I felt like that's all we saw yesterday.
Yeah, there was quite a bit. And of course it does open up the Tornado, which makes things interesting. Saw some nice play out of Diego and Michi in the opening game that they lost. Again, we're talking about, again, that communication between teammates, and they did a pretty good job of getting on the same page overall this season.
Here we go. Sam and Morten may be going Graveyard. Michi and Diego, still a lot of possibilities. We've seen Royal Giant.
And this might just be a copy deck out of Sam and Morten, which they are known to do. And not quite getting splash damage from the Baby Dragon there. Mega Knight cycled in the back one more time for SK Gaming.
Poison Love going on there. And Royal Giant off to the right-hand side.
So back to the same thing we saw in game number 1 for Cream Royale Betis. And now going to be a very healthy counter push coming in for SK Gaming, and there you see the Graveyard.
Graveyard.
And the Tornado doesn't get the King Tower activation.
Yeah, that is a very frustrating one there for Cream.
Oh, and look at that. It just ends up giving so much damage to the right-hand lane. So now SK Gaming has dual lane options. where really they should have only had the one.
Yeah, and this is really not the position you want to put SK Gaming in. Now you see the Mega Knight cycled in the back towards the right-hand side of the map. It's the weaker of the two towers. They can defend their weaker tower, and you know what that means. When you're playing Graveyard, you're able to defend in the same lane you're working down. You get great opportunities for counter push. What a great Fisherman there to stop that Inferno tower.
Yeah, absolute brilliance. Poison comes in as well, and this is a lot coming down the lane on the right-hand side for Cream Royale Betis to deal with. They do have a lot of elixir in the tank, and now they're going to zero with a Royal Giant High to create pressure the opposite direction.
Yeah, depending on how SK defends this, and that's actually a really nice lightning by Diego E and Mishifu, kind of like pushing the matter there, making it so that nothing can come across the bridge other than this Mega Knight.
There was a great Fireball NATO combination again from Cream Royale Betis, but was it an overspend? Mega Knight does not get the tankage for that first Graveyard, but now Dark Prince tanking for the second Graveyard. A lot of skeletons getting in on that left-hand side. Ewiz in defense. The Freeze trying to get this one for SK Gaming.
That should do it. 135 remaining. Skelly's on the tower. Freeze comes in. Brilliant timing, and you see Diego E and Michifu definitely frustrated, but like I said, if I'm Cream, it's going to be a tough thing to take this 2v2 set over Sam and Morton. They did about as good as you could expect out of them, and maybe even a little bit better, but Sam and Morton are just in another level, man.
Dude, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. That's the only way to say it. It's completely insane, the level of 2v2 they have reached, and that's keeping that same duo, friends, partners, teammates, now for so many seasons in a row. These guys are just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I love that High Fisherman. The thing that Sam and Morton do that's so fascinating to me is a lot of times when they have the moment, they're going to just reset and play units in the back, which is, you know, everyone does that. But they're so patient with how they want to play. They're completely reactive players. So they look and see what their opponents have done along the way. Look at the way that they like to defend things. That High Inferno Tower was not a guess. That Fisherman was not an accident. They knew that if they set things up and they were walking down the lane that long, they knew exactly how Diego and Michi wanted to defend. So here we go. We're going to look at some of the stuff that's been going on. This is that High Fisherman. Look at that. Just perfectly timed. Then you get the Baby Dragon. It's not played at the exact same moment. If they wait for the Fisherman to burn a little bit, and then they get the Baby Dragon down. Right here is the last big push from Cream. Lightning comes in. Problem is,
and look again, protecting that Musketeer.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's the micro, always for SK Gaming.
Well, it's interesting, Andrew, because one of the things that was criticized, and it's been a big shift in the attitudes of CRL players who, honestly, they hated having 2v2 in CRL back in 2018. In the inaugural season, when we were in 5 different regions, they complained about 2v2, and one of the complaints they had was that there wasn't much in the way of micro. Well, the understanding of the game has evolved to where we are seeing really excellent prediction work on those lightnings, the picking up the Inferno Dragons, Inferno Towers. We saw the other day we've seen in 2 weekends in a row, the micro work, the team micro work of Pain Gaming's Lucas and Wallace getting King Tower activations and the like. The game has evolved where now most people who play CRL think it is the more competitive, more compelling game mode, and we just saw a big reason why.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's going to be moments where the 1v1 in the meta just kind of gets a little bit stale. 2v2 still having bans in there, and the amount of different successful archetypes in 2v2 that you have to plan and strategize against, and how those archetypes complement said teams or specific teams, it really does become this fascinating, intricate way of strategizing that very first opening set. You and I, we've always loved 2v2. It's really nice to kind of see everyone else getting on board with it, because you see how great squads can be in 2v2 and how much and how important that is for their team as they move into the next sets, even if it is a BO5 as opposed to a BO3. So now SK Gaming, once again, coming into that King of the Hill set with one in hand, something that they are very used to. Rich, how on earth do Michi, Pedro, and Belly get through this squad?
They're perfectly capable of doing it, Andrew. These are 3 top-tier players on Cream Royale Betis. I mean, you look at SK Gaming and you look at this powerhouse, but let's talk first about the guy who's leading off here for Cream Royale Betis in Michifu. Michifu's a head-to-head guy who got moved into 2v2 this season. He's got #1 finishes on ladder. He's got high places in a number of the big tournaments, AMG Cup, CWA Cup, Gamestry Cup, Brenchong, things like that. Not to mention making it so far No Tilt World Championship twice. This guy can play, and he can beat any of these 3 on any given day.
Yeah, you know, and I'm obviously not very surprised to see Javi go to Mortar. It's something that we've seen, to Hog Rider. It's something we've seen Javi do quite a bit of. So Michifu looking like he might just go classic Graveyard or high defense Graveyard. That Tornado coming out very first to get that King Tower activation. I wonder if Cream was looking for the exact same thing as I was.
And here you go. This is the other version of Hog Triple Spell with the Delivery and Archers as opposed to the Musketeer and Snowball. And it does feel like there's going to be some challenges for this in the Graveyard matchup, just like we saw earlier today.
And there you go. Perfectly timed Tornado. That's the way to do it. Go ahead and rewind that a few times if you'd like, just to see how to completely avoid 100% damage from the Hog Rider and activate that King if it isn't already done.
Knight cycle to the left-hand side. Setting up for the next potential Graveyard push. One Elixir ahead, or actually about even now when you see the two different Elixir counts. 90 seconds left in the opening stanza.
This is going to be a tough one for Javi. He just doesn't have a ton of single target DPS to win these bridge battles. And the single target DPS that he does have is in his tank in the Knight and the Archers, which he needs to play in the back to defend against the Graveyard.
Well, what you do see him doing here is cycling those Earthquakes early, and that's what he needs to do is kind of chip down this Ice Wizard a little bit, let the Bomb Tower do some work, and you see the Archers being played low so they can get a little bit more help. The big problem here, you've seen it one more time, not able to control that Baby Dragon. But take a look at the Hog connections on the right-hand side. Javi just wants to try to get Javi needs to win this before we hit triple. That's the big question.
Yeah.
And if that's not the case, he needs to figure out how to spell cycle late and still play good defense.
Yeah, and I really like what Javi did there. He took a little bit of damage to get a lot of damage done, that Bomb Tower being placed in the great spot so that when the Baby Dragon does come in, which it inevitably will do, and get those belches in, the Bomb Tower really helps clean those last little remaining bits of HP up. So here you go. Great King Tower pull with that Tornado once again. Back on offense. Poison in. This is trouble for Javi.
Look at the nice variation in defense, though, from Javi this time. We want the Archer's high delivery to work on the Graveyard. That was a good sequence. Javi's still in this game, getting the Earthquake damage in, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him hard cycle now to try to get back to another Hog on the right-hand side.
Yeah, it's tough. He needs to get some DPS on this Baby Dragon, which is really the most difficult thing. So Michifu's going to go right back to it. Now he goes high Bomb Tower, knowing that he can't pull a Graveyard on that. It definitely would be an overcommit in Javi's book, because then he knows he can defend and go back on offense with the Hog Rider. So instead, Michi just waits a second longer to get a little bit more value out of it.
Earthquake played on defense to clean up some of those skeletons. And
they're still there.
King Tower, Andrew. Oh, wow.
Yeah, King Tower down to 960. I mean, that is definitely a number that you have to start paying attention to if you're Michifu.
Knight high, Archers behind, Hog to the right-hand side, NATO not in cycle. Bomb Tower comes out in response, EQ playing defense. Javi needs to defend these skeletons here, delivery coming in. Maybe a half step late here, though, and Baby Dragon will get on tower. Yeah, that's going to be a GG well played. NATO to finish things off. Michifu takes game number 1 of King of the Hill.
You know, I just don't love seeing Javi go Hog triple spell in his first game there. I don't know if maybe I'm just feeling lucky today and I was able to call it, but it does feel like he has gone to that deck as his first deck a lot of times out there. I think he likes to feel people out with it, and you know, Michifu was just ready for it. Javi still got a ton of damage in on those towers, still got a ton of damage in on the King, but it just felt like a truly uphill battle for that entire game.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, this is a tough matchup. I mean, how do you defend the Graveyard? Javi did about as well as you can in this one.
Yeah.
And, you know, he put enough fun where we actually looked at that King Tower and went, hey, wait a second, this is starting to get a little interesting here for Michifu, but you're seeing the story of the game, right? He has to spend so much to control up high, so much on defense, and still, look at this, you're going to see those skeletons you talked about sneak in and get a ton of damage.
Yeah, and then you see on the other side of it, he's still getting a +1 trade every time he defends. So he can spend that extra 1 elixir on offense, which he does that and more every single time, Michifu does, and then he defends that Hog Rider incredibly easily by either just a Tornado or a Bomb Tower. He can do either one.
Yeah, and here you see the end coming. The Hog Rider can't get on the tower on the right-hand side. Baby Dragon gets nice in and close. NATO just to put the capper on it, and Michifu takes game number 1 over Javi Catorze, who's been really, really excellent in the 1v1 set, has Javi, with 3-1 overall in those sets. But so far, King of the Hill, other than that King of the Hill sweep, it's 3 wins and 4 losses on the season.
Yeah, it is really surprising to see Javi and his lack of success in King of the Hill and his dominance in the 1v1, but you know what? He's fine with it. He's going to go take a seat. He'll come back out in 1v1 if Cream does get there, and now we have Sam and Morton coming up for SK Gaming. The thing that I loved about the beginning of this is you're like, look, Michifu can do it. That's the same with every single guy in this King of the Hill set for both squads right now. I'm really, really excited to work all the way through this. I'd actually love to go all the way to Game 5 here. But right now, Michifu started off strong. Played really smart, had a great deck selection there, was able to manage the game just enough. Yes, Javi got kind of close. If you're looking at it, it looks kind of close. But in reality, he was still very, very far from winning that game.
Yeah, he got as close as the matchup was going to allow in that situation. So now we go into our second game where I believe it's OP Sam up next. If we go ahead and take a look at the lineups, give me one moment here to just confirm that one.
Yeah.
Yep, it will be OP Sam coming up next, who does have a pretty significant King of the Hill sweep on the season, part of that 12-game run overall that SK went on for a minute.
Yeah, you heard him right, guys. That's 12 games. That's 2 matches and then some.
Skeleton Barrel to the left-hand side, wondering if he's going to double bait or going to Mortar Skelly Barrel. We'll find out soon.
And
we found out very soon.
I believe there's been a slight change in this deck, but I know that on the Grand Challenge boards, it's still the exact same as what we saw in the prior season, but I've seen a little bit different on ladder. I just can't remember what it was.
So looking like Michi going to split archers here, and he has a lot of good ways to control that mortar connection if he can.
Yeah, for sure. He's got the bomb tower there, as you just said, split archers. Any sort of spirit going opposite way is a great kite as well, so Michifu definitely has some responses for this.
We'll see if Sam can continue to pressure against those bomb towers, and we talked about beforehand the 4-for-3 trades that Michi was getting. Can Sam do the same thing by forcing that bomb tower out as a response to the skeleton barrel?
Sam going right back on offense. That bomb tower going to go down after one shot, and he retargets here with the knight. Nicely played and timed by Michi.
So there's one wrinkle. Cannon cart.
Yeah, interesting. I can't imagine that he would go graveyard here. Just seems way too expensive, and he's already got other win conditions in the deck. But cannon cart coming in.
2108 on the right-hand side to 2168.
You know the idea, too, is, right? You get that barrel up front, cannon cart behind, barrel pops, cannon cart's there. A lot of tanking for each other that can do a lot of damage with those 2 units.
Little lane switch coming out from OP Sam. Knight to pick up.
And that's really something that you have to be incredibly comfortable doing when you play these mortar bait decks. You have to be really okay with switching lanes at any moment, even if you've already got 1,000+ damage on one tower.
Musketeer comes out to help out with the Mega Minion, and take a look at that. Now the bomb tower comes out against the cannon cart. Boom, skeleton barrel right-hand side. Barb barrel should be available, and yes, it is.
Yep, barb barrel available, though, but that's why you see Sam doing what he's doing, setting up spear goblins in the back, probably a skeleton barrel up front. No, he's actually just going to cycle him straight up. Archer should meet and be easy cleanup. Little surprise there.
Michi waits a half step there to get the timing right on the knight. Musketeer behind to work on the Mega Minion. Skeleton barrel to the right-hand side. Bomb tower will get the pickup as we go final 15 seconds into sudden death overtime. It is SK Gaming's OP Sam with the ever so slight lead. Michifu has not pulled the trigger on Graveyard yet.
Yeah, Michifu just kind of trying to manage this game right now. That's the one thing with this deck against Graveyard that Sam's running, is if you're able to keep up so much pressure in both lanes, which is why you see Sam continuing to go to the opposite lane, because he doesn't want to give too much in one lane so his opponent gets a massive counter push and then can finally drop that Graveyard in. So what does he do? He starts a push in one lane, he makes a little bit of pressure on the opposite, and then he figures out where his opponent's going to double down, and he puts his DPS there.
Nice high bomb tower out of Michifu to both defend the skeleton barrel on one side and help take down the knight in the other lane. So Michi so far not giving up too much to this dual lane pressure, putting together good defensive sequences.
Yeah, I mean, it's really impressive to see what Sam is doing, but it's almost more impressive to see how well Michi is managing this dual lane pressure. It's not even making him flinch.
And so you see the archers split, keeping that Mortar distracted. Here we go. Barb Barrel in. Poison going to get a lot of value right now for Michifu, but a Heal Spirit undoes or adds a little bit, doesn't add to it as much as he would have liked.
Skeleton cycled in the back. Now we go High Knight here. Looking to catch that Graveyard is Sam with a High Knight of himself. Looks like Michi was just looking to bait that out. He pulls the trigger on the Mega Minion and then goes Graveyard. Nice plays by Michifu.
Spear Goblins get played right into the poison there from Sam, and maybe don't do as much as he hoped. I guess he was trying to distract some of the skeletons as well. Final 30 seconds.
That was
and this is where things get difficult for Sam.
Yeah, and that was really nicely put together by Michifu. That was a very, very smart attack that he put into Sam. Sam didn't really, I guess just wasn't really ready for it in that sequence.
Skeleton Barrel number 1 on the right-hand side. Will he do another one? Cannon Cart goes to the left-hand side, trying to split this up. Bomb Tower on the left just barely picks things up. Fireball trying to help, and that's not going to be enough. Michifu going to go 2 up, 2 down in King of the Hill.
Yeah, very, very well played. You saw that last-second Barb Barrel from Michi on the left-hand side. Somehow, a Spear Goblin stayed alive and was getting tanked for by that Cannon Cart. Could have maybe even stolen it in those final moments. Michifu says no way and picks up the second game win. Very, very well played by their 2v2 star.
You saw Sam just holding off on that fireball until the very final sequences, and you look at the troops and you see why, right? Not a lot of excellent fireball value coming out of Michifu's deck, and the other thing he did was he did a good job of never being clumped up. The archers were split in the middle a whole lot, and it was not much opportunity for OP Sam to find any place for that fireball.
Yeah, and then you think about how expensive this deck becomes with that Cannon Cart in there, and it really takes away the cyclability that makes that deck so dominant, to be able to keep that pressure up, that dual lane pressure. Honestly, I wonder if that just a little bit more expensive of a card made that dual lane pressure a lot less effective, because it is just that much harder to get back around.
And you see the Skeleton Barrel goes right into the Mega Minion and doesn't get much of anything on the right-hand side. Cannon Cart tries to sneak through again on the left. Maybe just get an opening here, but not going to be able to do enough. Michifu, good selection here and played it very, very well.
Yeah, and this is the Goblin I was talking about. He gets a few throws in there. Michifu goes, no way, man. That's not how I'm going to lose this game. Gets the Barb Barrel in, takes it with about 350 HP to spare. Is Michifu looking to go on a run right now, but one more man in his way, and that is SK's Morton. Pretty good.
Yeah, and again, yeah, if we're talking about who reverse sweeps in King of the Hill, Morton's the guy for SK Gaming. We've already seen him do it this season already, before, very, very recently. SK can go ahead and take 1, 2, 3 on the back of Morton, and if they don't, if Cream Rail Betis does take this one, of course, you do have Javi Catorze waiting for the 1v1. But right now, the story is all Cream Rail Betis. Michifu could go 1, 2, 3 and set this thing up for a great showdown in that third and final.
Yeah, I mean, it truly does feel like in the 2v2 set, you have to give it to SK Gaming. And then in the 1v1, it also feels like you might have to just give it right back to SK Gaming because of how well Javi's played. But as we said, or as you said specifically at the top of this set, King of the Hill really can go either way, and Cream is proving it right now. I mean, this is technically, and probably, I guess you could go on paper and based off of faith in their squad, I guess he's maybe their third batter when it comes to 1v1 play, right? Belly's been playing better than him, and Pedro was their initial 1v1 guy. So if Michifu's doing that already, this is exactly what you hope out of them in King of the Hill, and this is exactly why Cream has been such a threat.
Well, that's why Michifu is such a dangerous piece for this Cream Rail Betis squad. Is yes, he's part of their 2v2 duo that's been very, very good this season, a solid duo overall, but he is as good, or some might say better than the rest of the guys in his team in terms of the head-to-head play. So he gives that double value of being great in 2v2 and an excellent contributor in King of the Hill.
Yeah, which is phenomenal, right? Because then you get to use him the most. You get the most use, the most bang for your buck out of Michifu in that way.
I mean, you know, not to compare anyone to Morton, because Morton is certainly a first ballot Hall of Famer when it comes to Clash Royale League, but it's part of what makes Morton so great, is that Morton is one of the all-time best 2v2 players on the planet, and then comes out and is an absolute monster, 67% career win rate in the King of the Hill set with 4 sweeps. So there's that double duty, that double value you get from an absolute all-star.
Yeah, I mean, Morton's one of those guys that would be the head-to-head guy, the 1v1 set star on almost any other team in the league. So the fact that you consider him and what he does in 2v2 and King of the Hill for SK Gaming, that's why they're so dang good. So here we go. Morton, top of your screen. Looking like some fireball bait. Michifu at the bottom with a barb hut. Big surprise.
You know, it's been nice to have a bit of a reprieve from the barb hut today.
Yes, agreed. Really nice
And
fisherman.
that pulls the Musketeer right in. Great placement of the Fisherman there from Morten.
Yeah, so this is going to become an overspend to kind of defend this barb hut for just a second longer so that when it does actually go down, those barbs that pop will be more than enough for defense.
And good timing there on the log from Morten, but the Piggies will still do some significant damage on the left-hand side. Cannon Cart not going to sneak onto tower here. We'll see what Morten chooses to do. A little Heal Spirit to try to keep its wheels on.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's got to do something to amplify that push on the right-hand side. Heal Spirit still doesn't do it. He realizes that after it pops, and he goes, all right, I'm going to just let this die on the vine, prod the left a little bit, and restart.
Six-man split for Morten against Michifu, who resets up his barb hut. Michifu, of course, has finished first on ladder, and that was very recent in August of this year. Talking about that top-tier head-to-head play, now you see the Magic Archer come out in the middle, and a good fireball out of the Cream Royale Betis player.
Yeah, it would have been nicer to see that Magic Archer place one tile to the right there, so it wouldn't have been able to give as much value on that left-hand side with the fireball, but Morten's still in an okay spot. Probably got some piggies of his own.
Just doesn't quite get there in time. Fisherman set up on the right-hand side, and now a lot behind this 3-3 split of the recruits.
Yeah, this is a big push. You can imagine he wants to go Magic Archer high. Again, there it is. If a fireball does come out, not going to get a lot of value for Michifu. So now you see Morten goes in with those hogs. Where are you going to fireball, the Magic Archer or the hogs?
Well, look at how late he played the Magic Archer this time, Andrew. He let everything else really get onto the bridge, so there was no way to fireball the Magic Archer plus. So very good timing from Morten, a good correction from the last time.
Yeah, exactly. And then he made his opponent have to pick to fireball the hogs instead. So now you see that Magic Archer getting value on top of that barb hut. It doesn't seem like a lot, but taking half the HP away from the barb hut that early on is big time. And this is also where Morten's got to start thinking about, all right, I'm becoming a little bit predictable. Those skeletons came in, protected the barb hut nicely.
And that Heal Spirit leaped over the fireball, so gonna get some decent damage on the right-hand side and take firm control of the lead is Morten. 1885 remains in the right-hand lane for Michifu.
Yeah, this time if I'm Morten, when that barb hut comes down, I just don't play anything, and I don't think he will. Yep, there it is. Just sitting back, hanging out, maybe going to wait for all these units to clean off the board and then go in.
Cannon Cart trying to fight its way in, and here you go, going to go with the Piggies onto the inside. Look at the Heal Spirit coming in from the right. Doesn't quite get there in time to heal the Pigs the correct way, but still in control right now is Morten, ahead on Elixir with a little bit more on the board. How does he defend against this Pigs push, though?
Yeah, and you see that Magic Archer made it so that this Musketeer had to come out early. So it's pretty easy defense for him, and now that Musketeer has to get recycled back around by Michi down low, probably to the left. There it is.
And Magic Archer not going to turn towards the barb hut yet. And look at the control from Michifu. The Heal Spirit inside, the log outside, and just keeps that Magic Archer out of the barb hut conversation.
Yeah, the management of this game by Michi has been incredible. Even though he is still losing, and it most likely is just going to lose the game because he's only got 20 seconds left and Morten's just keeping the pressure up. The management by Michifu has been absolutely breathtaking, but it's just not going to get him there.
Here we go. Magic Archer looking for a bit of geometry. Can it get through a bit more? Pigs on the left-hand side with Fireball. 1805. This could be a bit of extra damage. Not going to be enough. Michifu falls to Morten without the King of the Hill sweep.
Just barely getting in there. Morten wins by 287 HP, 216 on that bottom left-hand side. Morten keeps SK alive here in King of the Hill. And now this is going to be an interesting moment of what Pedro we get today. The last time we saw him, he was playing pretty stellar. But before that, Pedro struggled a lot here in fall of 2020.
With that win, Andrew, Morten's win rate on the season goes to 76%. 22 games won, 7 games lost overall. And in head-to-head, that is an 80% clip at 8-2.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers here. It's insane. 8-2 in King of the Hill. Hasn't even played a 1v1 set, and almost at 70% in his career in any given set is just... That's why he's the best right now. It truly is. You said a first ballot Hall of Famer. Absolutely no questions. So here we go. Now moving into the next game, a King of the Hill game 4. It's going to be Morten versus Pedro 15. And as I was just talking about, we've seen a lot of back and forth from Pedro. I guess the best word to describe him this season would be inconsistent. But when he's good, he's really dang good.
When he's good, he's great. When he's good, he's an S-tier player. The question is, which Pedro do we get today, as you've already put forward? And some of that is, is Pedro himself. Some of that, of course, we've talked about before, is the occasional Wi-Fi issue. So curious to see what comes out today. And take a look at this, Andrew. This is Michifu making things a little bit more close than maybe for comfort. And those pigs just escape on the bottom right-hand side for Morten. If they hadn't, Michi could have stolen that one and gotten the sweep.
Yeah, well, that was the thing about it, right? It never really felt like Michi wasn't in control of the game. It didn't feel like he was just trying to play catch-up with Morten. It felt like he was managing what he had to do, which is a very difficult thing when you're playing against those types of decks, where you're getting dual lane pressure for 5 minutes. It felt like to me that Michi had an ace up his sleeve, and I think he honestly did. That's what we saw there at the very end. If those hogs didn't sneak through for Morten, that was Michi's game plan for the entire time. Slow play it, get spell value where you can, and just manage. Really impressive, but just a little bit outplayed by the German.
Yeah, and so here we go, on to game number 4. Pedro coming out for Clash Royale Betis, and Morten, of course, feeling a bit of pressure. They do have the set advantage, but he would love to get yet another reverse sweep here in Clash Royale League.
Yeah, just get them further and further in the positive for that set differential. Pedro, bottom of your screen here, going to start with a cycled Healer Spirit. Morten meets that with a log.
Pedro's had one of the more difficult journeys in CRL. Of course, was meant to be a part of a number of teams here in the West, and wasn't able to make it happen during the 2019 season. Ended up with kicks in CRL Asia, and then this year he's been able to finally find his place on Clash Royale Betis.
Wow, so Morten going just classic mortar bait here, looking like, with Prince instead of what was Rascals for a really, really long time, and instead of Spear Goblins, it's going to be that Dark Goblin. This is one of my favorite
one to watch.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite versions here. You see the skeletons also in there. Just a slightly different, just a few changes here by Morten. Morten actually posted on Twitter the other day as he got to number 1 on ladder again with a Royal Giant deck, saying Bats OP was the caption, I believe. So maybe Morten back in love with those 2 elixir biting bats.
Yeah, it's a question of how much does, we talk a lot about the West overreacting maybe to nerfs, and bats have kind of disappeared in a lot of ways, but we've seen them pop up once or twice in this fall split, and that's a nice Magic Archer out of Pedro.
That whole sequence was brilliant by Pedro, getting that Bar Barrel in right in front of the Hunter to pop so that Prince's charge went away. The Hunter's shot is just enough to mitigate the damage, and then he gets the Magic Archer on top of the Mortar, obviously still behind by quite a bit, but a really, really nice sequence there by Pedro defensively.
3-3 split for Pedro on the 6-man, still trailing by quite a bit, 1044 on that bottom right-hand tower, 1796, the closest one on Morten's side of the board.
And Morten going low and offset to the right for a couple reasons. That's going to help pull 3 hogs, not all 4, but also is going to make it so that Magic Archer of Pedro's can't get on top of the mortar. However, nice geometry here lining up for that Prince, 2 shots in.
He's been solid with Magic Archer so far. Dark Goblin working on the left-hand side. Prince trying to get the pop here. A good heal spirit out of Pedro, controlling this situation very, very well.
Yeah, Pedro playing this really, really nicely. And, there's a handful of mortar variations out there. Even in this exact variant, you could just see the Rascals instead of the Prince. Maybe would be a little bit more beneficial, the single target DPS having trouble with these Royal Recruits and getting on those hogs.
Nice minor log combo out of Morten to make sure that Magic Archer goes down deep and rip off a bunch of shields just like that. It's 636 on the right-hand side as we go into sudden death.
Yeah, that's a substantial lead that Morten has now, so he can play incredibly patiently and just get Miner cycled in. There you go, Miner to the front. He's going to change that up every single time. Last card should be Fireball. Makes sense that we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, except for it's... There we go, wow. It's the patience. You're playing against Royal Hogs and Fishermen, and we don't see a Fireball until sudden death.
Yeah, he was just doing such a great job getting more value by getting units on the board as opposed to using spell power. And now you see Dark Goblin stays alive with the help of those skeletons, demands that Goblin Cage come out high. from Pedro. Now Morten, spell cycle range.
Have to do one more good chunk of defense here against Pedro, and look at that patience, Andrew, to fireball up high rather than go on the tower. Mortar high here, Dart Goblin should be enough to stop this pig for any significant damage. That's veteran play.
Exactly. You see him, he snuck that log in even as well there. Didn't even notice it because he was focused on something else. Log comes in, gets that tower within fireball range. Morten doing exactly what Morten does. Picks up his 4th game win for today, and now all of a sudden, the reverse sweep back on the table.
Wow. Just absolute wow. That's the only answer for it. Absolute wow out of Morten. This guy's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'll try to explain his greatness to my girlfriend, and it's really hard to put it into words. He is just so incredible every single time, no matter what he's doing. The micro, the management, recognizing matchups and knowing when to overcommit or when to sell out and when not to. Changing up, I mean, it just is something as simple. How often do you and I on broadcast say he's got to start changing up his minor placement? He's got to start changing up his minor placement. I feel like you and I have never said that in 3 years for Morten.
Yeah, there's not a lot to say when it comes to Morten in terms of, hey, he should do this, because he's already doing it, and he's doing it better than you would have thought and doing it in ways you wouldn't have imagined. The guy is without question one of the all-time greats of this league.
So here we go. That patient fireball that you and I were gushing over up high. You know the mortar's going to come in up high as well. Yes, the heal spirit's there, but so is the log. The perfectly placed log hits the heal spirit, hits the royal hogs, touches the tower, sets it up for a fireball closer, and that is why Morten is one of the best. 2 up, 2 down, 4 games in a row for Morten today.
And a quick correction, now with that win, he's 8-2 on the season in King of the Hill. So Morten looking for a chance to go 9-2 and add his 2nd sweep of the year. And not just 2nd sweep, Andrew. If Morten can beat St. Bellican here, it's his 2nd King of the Hill reverse sweep in a row this season.
Yeah, mind blown. Mind absolutely blown. And then the other thing, too, is even if they lose this set, then you've got Javi Catorce in that 1v1 set, and you know Javi doesn't care about losing a game in King of the Hill. Yes, obviously Javi is a competitive, prideful dude, but he's not worried about King of the Hill. He's worried about getting to the 1v1 set where he has been near perfect this season. He's gone 4 sets. That's the only, I mean, they've only had to go to the 3rd and final set 4 times, and he's won 75% of those. The only one was that match up against Misfits, where Misfits won the 2v2 and the 1v1, which is incredibly uncharacteristic for SK to drop those 2 sets and then win the King of the Hill.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one, Andrew, because when we get into this 5th and final King of the Hill game, you have St. Bellican coming out for CRL Betis, who, of course, is just got ice in his veins. But what makes St. Bellican dangerous is the matchup game.
Yes.
There are very few players in Clash Royale League who are better at the matchup game than St. Bellican. His deck pool this season has been exceptionally deep. He's played something like 13 or 14 different archetypes over just a couple more games than that, right? He has been all over the place, and what's really dangerous is the way he varies up different Lava Hound decks where you don't know, you see Lava and you can be halfway through the game and still be unsure if he's playing clone or not.
Yeah,
and so you don't know what to do with your cycle.
I'm so happy you said that, because he's one of the few people out there that I think not even the few. He's the only person in all of CRL that you worry about having clone at any given moment.
You see Belly waits a long time, not biting on any of those cycle cards out of Morten. Giant Skeleton high, right for the Fisherman. Bellican, shaking his head immediately, knows that was a huge, huge error. That's why you don't cycle Fisherman behind King Tower early, and he knows that was a massive, massive mistake.
And you see him smiling, right? Because he knows he made a rookie mistake. He did the great thing that you were talking about, which was just don't bite. Heal Spirit, no problem. Skeletons, fine. Snowball, you got it. But the moment that he started cycling, it was the Fisherman, and what does he meet? A Giant Skeleton on his tower. That coupled with some great Royal Ghost plays, and Morten has done an extreme amount of damage very early on.
I mean, I really want to hear from Morten after this if that whole bait was on purpose, right? If he cycled the Royal Ghost expecting that a Fisherman would be a reasonable response for that Giant Skeleton high at the bridge. This will be a good connection here with the balloon on the left-hand side. So just like that, Belly is back in the game.
Yeah, truly back in the game. There you go. Fisherman pull. This Royal Ghost, though, is going to cruise right on through. It's going to get helped with that Heal Spirit. That will be towered down. And, you know, Belican is a guy that does love to min-max. He's also a guy that recognizes when it is not worth salvaging. And he's doing that right now, knowing he has got 1 minute and 5 seconds to take this tower from Morton.
New variation of Six Loon here out of St. Belican with the Royal Recruits and the Balloon. Of course, a little different look than we've seen throughout the 2020 year.
Maybe we see a high Fisherman here from Belican. You see the cannon cart being cycled off to that right-hand side. Maybe the Fisherman pulls. No, he goes minions up high.
And Giant Skeleton to the right-hand side to control all of that. And
there's the Fisherman.
that's a nice pull with the Fisherman.
Yeah, that's the one we're looking for. Now the cannon cart is in. It's on top of that Fisherman. However, the Balloon is completely uncontested. Hunter on Hunter.
Oh.
Great freeze by Belly.
I mean, change his name to Loki. This guy is purely a trickster when it comes to Clash Royale.
Wow, he gets 2 drops in, but only 17 seconds remain. Belican has got to be really, really upset over this one. He played so well, other than that opening Fisherman that cost him the game.
And right into a Hunter. Snowball going to stop that one. And yeah, there you go. Back-to-back weeks. Morton with reverse sweeps in King of the Hill. I mean, write his checks right now, SK. Sign this guy for life.
I just... Michifu, Pedro, Belican, Diego, B, Pompeo, Kevin, R.A., and actually, if you even go back one match before that, he beat Airsurfer in King of the Hill. He is God tier, S tier. No one is even close to Morton right now.
And that one was absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. SK Gaming clinches first place, clinches a berth to World Finals. They are guaranteed in. They get that first round bye. They put pressure on everybody else, including pressure on Cream Royale Betis with Dignitas hot on their heels.
Oh man, I honestly wish that we could just see the camera of Belican. You immediately saw the smile on his face, the drop of his head, and the head shake when he saw the Giant Skeleton come down. He knew he already had his number picked. He was done. There was no way to come back from this. Belican put up an incredible effort as the next few minutes went by. He gets a bomb drop on the left. He gets 2 bomb drops on the right. But Morton is okay with all of those things happening. He knew he was never in danger of losing a tower.
Yeah, this was just really, really great. And I wish we could go back and see the what Morton's face looked like when he put that Giant Skeleton. You know, we were also focused on Belican that none of us really looked to see what Morton's face was, because I want to see if there was like a glint in his eyes when he saw that Fisherman in the back.
Yeah, Morton just straight up played perfectly today. They dropped 1 game in that 2v2, that second game where Diego and Michifu played very, very well, but otherwise it was all Morton all day. SK Gaming is going to the World Finals this year. Javi Catorce, Morton, Sergio Ramos, and OP Sam. No surprise when you see success with those 4 names behind it.
Yeah, it's such an unbelievably talented roster, and you know, you didn't have to get Javi into the mix in 1v1 this season, but when you have a duo like Morton and Sam, who either one, both of whom have gone off in King of the Hill this season, right? Javi's done the same thing as well, and then if you can't get it done in 2, you have one of the all-time best 1v1, best of 3 players in the history of CRL. There's a reason why now, for so many seasons in a row, they are championship contenders.
Yeah, and it's crazy when you go back and you look at SK Gaming, you know, they've only lost against Misfits, and all of their biggest competitors other than Team Queso, which is actually an important thing to point out because Team Queso is actually the best in sets 2 and 3 when you talk about someone like Ruben, but Javi still took him down. Otherwise, no one, Pain's 2v2, Tribes 2v2, SSG's 2v2, no one can keep up with Sam and Morton right now, and then you turn it on its side and you go, okay, well, if you look back at the last few matches, we have 2 King of the Hill sweeps from Morton, 1 from Javi, and 1 from Sam. What? And they're all on the same team?
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. I mean, how many is that? Is that 4 on the season
for
the squad? 2 back-to-back for Morten, who now is the only player at 5 in his career, just behind our 2 6-sweep leaders. So Morten now number 3 all-time on the King of the Hill sweep list. And we're going to get into some of the standing stuff here in just a moment, but we do have some updates that we're getting from league operations on who's in, who's out, maybe a bit more decided today. One thing, of course, decided is that SK goes through, and this, of course, puts a lot of pressure on Space Station Gaming's match next week with Team Queso, and it raises some questions, of course, about Tribe versus Pain.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I'm so excited. There's so much still on the line and undecided here, other than SK Gaming going to World Finals. And you talk about a team that deserves it more than anyone else, at least here in the fall of 2020. And it's definitely SK Gaming. You talk about a squad that's had to use everyone. And even though Sergio Ramos has not been quite up to snuff this season, they're still able to do it otherwise. And the fact that you still can throw him in that King of the Hill on any given day and he can pick up a win still is just enough for SK, his teammates, and of course, Coach KV. So SK Gaming, 7-1, going to World Finals.
And I really like that you brought up Coach KV Kavalafar for SK Gaming, who's been with that squad all the way from CRL EU. And it's been KV and Morten together, and the wherewithal, the vision of KV and SK Gaming to build a team around Morten. That's why they're here today.
Yeah, and Morten's not a huge ego guy, but he was told that he could basically build his dream squad, and he's got just that. So here we go. You and I both correct on the day, but you've got 3 more wins than myself, which puts you in first place because for some reason, Koji and Manu thought that Team Liquid could pick up that 2v2 set, which I honestly think that's really what it came down to, was the 2v2 set in that first matchup. Otherwise, they are tied with Twitter. We see Deco and Bruno at 27 each apiece. I'm not sure how there's 3 less matches, though, for one of them, but I'm not going to argue with it because I'm still ahead of them. Here we go. Let's take a look at our standings.
Yeah, taking a look at those standings right now, SK Gaming clinches first place, and you see that tie between Tribe and Space Station Gaming, but Tribe has the head-to-head matchup, so Space Station needs Tribe to lose if they want to have any hope of leapfrogging, and they are the only other team that could leapfrog Tribe for that guaranteed spot. They have Team Queso currently in 4th. Now, we are getting some word coming in from League Operations that Pain is guaranteed in. They have locked in their spot, but that Cream Royale Betis and Dig are still in a bit of a matchup right now. Dig needs Cream to lose, Pain to win, and Dig to win next weekend if they want to sneak in for that number 6 spot.
And we're just also getting word that Deco is very upset that the graphic was wrong for him because he loves to rub it in my face that he has more points than me. So there you go, Deco. You can be the MVP on predictions today. But how about our true MVP of the day? Yesterday it was Sweep. Who else would it be other than Morten today? 24 crowns on the season. 2 back-to-back King of the Hill sweeps. His best streak? Oh, I don't know, 10 games in a row. This man definitely deserves the award this week.
Nutty. Absolutely nutty. And sorry, Sweep, that you got bumped for this one. You had some good matchups yesterday, and some things bounced your way. What Morten did today between 2v2 and King of the Hill was nothing short of S tier, which is what he is, and I think that there's no question now that you talk about the people who are the greatest of all time in CRL. Morten's top 3 in that conversation, and there's no doubt about it.
100%. And honestly, it's so funny. This is not a slight on Sweep by any means, but he's a rookie, right? He got his very first King of the Hill sweep yesterday in a big-time playoff clinching match, and you saw how excited he got. It was adorable. I'll be honest. It was. You look at Morten today, a guy that's been doing this for like almost 4 years. He just clinched World Finals off of a reverse King of the Hill sweep. Cool. Let's go grab lunch, man. I've done this so many times. It's just really cool to see the juxtaposition of the celebration. One from a guy that's just joined the league, and one from a guy that only has his eyes on one thing, and that's the gold at World Finals.
So we are going to jump into our view of next week, our final week of the regular season. Ooh. And of course, that clear World Finals berth is on the line. We do not know all 6 of our squads in, so it starts off with Dignitas trying to get that all-important win and stay in the hunt. And after that, they will watch the other two matchups very closely. They need Pain and Cream Real Betis both to lose, but you know Tribe Gaming is gunning for it, wanting to protect that number 2 position and that free berth to Shanghai, China.
Yeah, 4 of these 5 matches are just incredible. So like you said, Tribe versus Pain, so much on the line there. Cream Esports going up against Chivas, still fighting for so much is Cream Real Betis. And of course, SSG and Team Queso. This is a really, really big one on Sunday to start our day off when you talk about those top 5 positions. And of course, SK Gaming clinching World Finals. Team Liquid done for the season in regards of looking to playoffs. They definitely do have that last match, though. What an interesting season, considering that SK Liquid matchup was our semifinals at Worlds, and now here in 2020, it's going to be our last match of the regular season where Liquid will not be moving on.
Yeah, I mean, you look at scheduling, and from a scheduling standpoint, if you're making those rounds beginning of the season, you're like, how great will it be to have the last game of the regular season be
right.
SK and Liquid? So much will be on the line. Instead, we have Team Liquid already qualified, or SK Gaming already qualified, Liquid already eliminated. We have one of our 4 world finalists, 3 more to decide, Andrew, and there are a kind of surprisingly large number of teams still in the hunt for it as we go towards our playoffs, and they'll be looking to go up against a really, really nasty set of squads out of the East.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see the evolution of all of our squads. Tribe Gaming, a team that, was doing it in just 2 sets prior, has been doing it in 3 a lot more, working in all 4 of their players. Pain Gaming goes for a complete 180 halfway through the season. All of a sudden, they're right there. Space Station Gaming, without Aw Crap at the beginning, has still stayed very, very consistent throughout. Team Queso was maybe finally starting to have the wheels fall off a little bit, relying so heavily on just their superstar in Ruben. Otherwise, with SK Gaming, they've just been completely consistent and even spread throughout. This is going to be an absolutely incredible, incredible West playoffs, man.
I'll have to get this prepared for next week because I don't have the numbers in front of me. I just want to look at what SK Gaming's record as an organization throughout CRL has been, right? Because you have a number 2 finish in EU, number 1 finish in West, number 2 finish in West, number 1 finish in West. The shortened season last year in the spring, and they still made it to the semifinals. And then, of course, currently what they're doing right now. So they might have the best record in Clash Royale League of any organization over these 5 seasons in the West.
Yeah, so guys, make sure those notifications are turned on your YouTube. They're turned on Twitch. We got 1 weekend left before we get to playoffs. You don't want to miss those matches. I hope your clocks were set correctly today. We'll be back at the exact same time next week, 10 a.m. on the West, 1 p.m. on the East.
And make sure that, again, if you're running through that Halloween candy that you bought and maybe did or didn't give out yesterday, that you take a break on the way in between. Andrew, put you on the hot seat with 10 seconds left. Is it Cream or Dig In next weekend?
I'm going to go Cream. Guys, that's it for us. We'll see you next Saturday. Peace out. Enjoy your Sunday.